Party's on Stapp versus Bird. Step forward, please.
Emergency room assistant Linda Stapp claims former in-law Lorraine Bird, a healthcare worker, burned her face with pepper spray. She wants her medical bills paid, plus pain and suffering.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 139 on the calendar in the matter of Stapp versus Bird. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat, please.
You two ladies are related by marriage.
That's correct. Yes.
Your son is married to your daughter,
Yes,
who's not here today.
that's true.
According to this complaint, the kids are divorcing, and they have 3 children.
That's
How
correct.
old are your grandchildren?
5, 4, and 2.
Is there a court order of visitation now for your son?
Yes, there is.
I assumed that there was, and in the papers it says that he has supervised visitation. Is that right?
That's correct.
Step up here, sir. Why do you have supervised visitation?
It's just what the court ordered.
Was there a hearing in the family court before supervised visitation was ordered?
Yes, ma'am. There is a domestic violence issue.
So it's because of the domestic violence issue that supervised visitation was ordered, and you're supposed to supervise the visitation.
That's correct.
So according to this complaint, that on April 18th of this year, your son had the 3 children unsupervised.
That's correct.
And there was an altercation when he returned the children. You came with your daughter to pick up the children
That's correct.
and sprayed mace.
Yes. Only on Mike.
Well, you say only on Michael, but inadvertently, perhaps,
Yeah.
it hit the plaintiff and it caused her some severe burning. And that's what you're suing for.
That's correct. But that's not what happened.
So let's start at the beginning. What were you doing with the children unsupervised?
Me and Lori had a verbal agreement that it'd be all right that I'd take the kids without my mom for the day.
To a barbecue.
Where were you going?
We went to a barbecue.
And you had discussed this with Lori before?
Yes, ma'am.
Lori's your wife.
Wife, yes.
Your hours of visitation end at 6 o'clock, according
Yes.
to these papers.
Yes.
But you didn't bring the children home at 6 o'clock.
No, I called from the barbecue and asked her if it'd be all right if I returned a couple hours late, which was at 8 o'clock, and that's what time I arrived.
Had you been drinking?
I had 1 beer at the barbecue.
You're not supposed to have any beers at the barbecue if you're with your children. Right?
Yes.
So you were bringing your children back, and she was supposed to pick the children up at your mother's house.
Yes.
Brought the kids back to your mother's house, and now you're going to tell me what happened.
I was in bed because I had to get up at 5 to go to work, and I heard noise coming from my garage, and I got up to go see what had happened, and I saw my daughter-in-law, Lori, pulling the children out of my son's car, which was also inside my garage, and they were having a verbal argument, and I asked them to stop. My grandchildren were crying. My youngest granddaughter had walked around the back of the car, and I had picked her up and was comforting her, and I was on the other side of my 2-car garage from the adults that were having the argument.
The adults were just your son and your daughter-in-law.
Correct. Then I saw Lorraine out in her car, which was parked out on my sidewalk. She had followed Lori in her car, I don't know why. And I was thinking, oh good, Lorraine can come up and take the grandchildren from me and just let Lori and Michael do their bickering, because they were just verbally arguing. When I went to turn to hand her Anna, my granddaughter.
How old is Anna?
2. That's when she sprayed me right in the face. And she intentionally did that because she also sprayed the back of my brand new car. And I had Anna in my arms when she did that. I have a police report here of what had happened. I also have a doctor's report here of the severity of the burns themselves.
Where on your face were you burned?
I was burned all the way down here, and it caused blisters. My nose was bleeding for like 2 weeks. It wouldn't stop because of the burns in this side of my nose. And this eye, it hit my eye just a little bit, which was really good because I had a severe reaction to the spray itself.
So what happened after you were sprayed?
After I was sprayed, I went back in the house and tried to rinse it out. I called the emergency room immediately because that's where I work. And they told me to call poison control, which I did. And they said the same thing, just rinse it as much as you can. And that's what I kept doing.
Were the police called?
The police were called immediately.
Who called the police?
Michael did. And they actually got the whole argument on 911 tape because he dialed 911 immediately and laid the phone down in the garage. And then Lorraine got two of the children in her car and attempted to leave, and my son got in front of her car to stop her from leaving because we wanted the police to come. When the police arrived, they said that they could arrest her on the scene for what she had done because not only did she spray myself and put my grandchildren in danger, she sprayed my son Michael and his date, who is also listed on there. Then the police talked to us, and then the police talked to Lorraine, and they told us to think about it for a while because it was a family matter and we don't want to have this any worse than what it's been.
So tell me why you got involved with this return of the children.
Well, my daughter's divorcing him, as you know, and there's a restraining order because he has constantly stalked her. And he was arrested in March for stalking, terrorist, and 4 felonies. And this man will not leave her alone. And the only reason I went in there with the pepper spray is because I was afraid for their life. Those children were getting hurt. They were getting knocked on the ground.
Tell me what happened. Tell me your version of what happened.
My daughter called me and said he was drinking at a barbecue. He refused to bring the kids home. He didn't want to leave the party. He was having too much fun.
Okay. But he brought the children home at 8 o'clock. Is that right?
Well, he was a little bit late.
According to this, he was 15 minutes late, according to these papers. So he brought the children home approximately on time. And you waited in your car.
That's correct.
So you tell me, your daughter asked you to come just to be there for her, I assume.
Yes.
Tell me what you observed from the car. Make sure I hear the truth.
Okay, he pulled up in the car. He had the children in there and his girlfriend in the car. He pulled the car up into the driveway. He locked the children in the car, refused them to give them to my daughter, antagonizing her.
Slowly. He had the children in the car.
Yes, he did. And he says, maybe I'll give you the children and maybe I won't.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Michael, was not a smart idea to have your girlfriend serve your wife with court papers.
It was the opportunity of her being there.
No, there's opportunity. She has 3 children. She's not going anywhere.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Linda Stapp says during her grandchildren's visitation, former in-law Lorraine Bird pepper sprayed her in the face. Lorraine says it was an accident.
Tell me what happened.
His girlfriend got out of the car and still left the children locked in the car. The children were wanting out, and she was wanting the children, and they couldn't get out of the car. And his girlfriend served her with a paper. I don't know what it was.
Contempt of court.
Contempt of court paper. And anyways.
Just a second. Your girlfriend gave your wife some papers.
Yes.
During this exchange of the children.
Yes.
And what were these court papers?
Contempt of court.
What kind of contempt of court?
Lori did not show up with the kids on 2 of my visitation days.
When was
Copy
that?
of the papers right here.
When was that, sir? He can talk for himself. He's a big boy. He made 3 babies.
I'm sorry.
All right.
The dates were March 21st, and the other date was April 4th.
So you served her with a contempt of the order of visitation for failing to bring the children.
Yes.
What's your first name?
Excuse me?
What's your first name?
Michael.
Michael. Was not a smart idea to have your girlfriend serve your wife with court papers.
I agree. I agree. Now, I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but I do
No,
agree.
because you were thinking out of anger. You were thinking about getting even or something. She's got a restraining order against you, so you wanted to do this little thing. This would really get her goat if your girlfriend served her with papers. Come on, Michael.
It was the opportunity of her being there.
No, there's opportunity. She has 3 children. She's not going anywhere. I mean, you can get a process server to serve her with papers. Okay. What were you doing with the pepper spray in your possession?
I keep it for when I have to go out after dark. I've never used it. This is the only time I've ever used it.
It was a mistake to use it.
I know that, Your Honor. He finally went in the house. He come out, opened the garage door, then Miss Stapp finally came out of the house. She sat on the ground, was smoking a cigarette the whole time this fight was going on. She did not do anything until I got out of the car. When I
you
walked
say there
up
was
there,
a fight, they were
yeah,
yelling at each other.
They were pulling the children apart. He was grabbing the top torso of my son, pulling his arms out of his
Your
socket.
grandson, you mean?
Yes.
Let's start, sir, with at the moment that you pulled up in the car, your wife was there waiting for the children. What were the first words that were passed between the two of you?
The first words were, I'm ready for the kids, can I have them now? I said, no, can you please wait, let me pull my car in the garage and get their stuff out of the house, and then you can take them home.
Okay. She asked you for the children.
Yes.
You said no.
Yes. I said, could you please wait a minute and let me pull my car into the garage and get their stuff, because we had their overnight bags or their day bags, and I wanted to get all their stuff and get it all out to them at once.
Michael, this is all a question of control. You understand that, Mrs. Stapp, don't you?
Yes, I do.
I mean, let's try to make the two grandmothers at least be reasonable.
Yes.
She says, let me have the children. You say, no, when I'm ready. I'm going to leave them in the car now. First, I'm going to go get their bags. Could have been just as easy to say, take the kids, put them in your car, and I'll go in and get their stuff, and I'll bring it out to the car, to your car, right?
Yes.
But your girlfriend had papers to serve on her. Now, were the papers in your girlfriend's possession, or were they in the house?
They were in the house.
So when you went into the house, you weren't only getting the children's stuff, you were also getting the papers that your girlfriend had to serve, right?
Yes.
See, it's all coming together. You're not supposed to use the opportunity of exchanging children during visitation to serve papers or for any other purpose. The exchange of children is difficult enough during a divorce, during a separation, so that you're supposed to do everything that you can to minimize the trauma of going from one parent to another. You didn't do that, Michael.
No.
That doesn't excuse what you did.
I know that.
Okay. Do you have medical bills?
Yes, I do.
And he also broke my daughter's finger in the process.
Well, your daughter's not here.
I know. She wanted to be here on my behalf, but she was so terrified of this man. She is so scared of him. Thursday night, he tried to run her and the kids off the road.
Well, I don't know that since she's not here. Miss
Yeah.
Bird,
True. This is an itemized statement.
all I can
She
tell
has
you
the
is
bills.
that these two people, how old were you when you got married, Michael?
I was 20 years old.
And how old was your daughter?
She was 20.
So they were two very young people who got married and made 3 children right away. And it looks to me, unless you two grandmothers get your acts in gear, they're going to make these 3 grandchildren emotional cripples over this stuff. You know, bottom line is, if he has certain faults, and I'm not saying he does, Miss Bird,
Yes.
but if he does have certain faults, your daughter picked him. And not only did she pick him, she made one child with him, she made another child with him, and she made another child with him. And he's going to be their father for as long as they live. Right?
Right.
So they have to make peace with each other. And if they're not grown up enough to make peace with each other, at least the two grandmothers would seem to me to contrive to give the children some comfort, some, emotional structure, rather than fighting with each other. It's ridiculous.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Right now, you have to swallow your pride, you have to swallow your ego, and you have to do what the court tells you to. So if the judge says to you, jump, you say, how high do I have to jump to see my children?
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Linda Stapp wants medical bills plus pain and suffering from Lorraine Bird for pepper spraying her face. Lorraine says it was an accident.
Were you friendly with each other before this happened?
Yeah, we got along for the children and for the family's sake.
That's what you're supposed
There
to do.
was no bickering or fighting. But as it stands right now, when we went to court yesterday, she lost all of her visitation rights. Mike has none.
She lost all
She
of it?
violated the visitation.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Again, Your Honor. They have no respect for the law.
You mean they violated it because she didn't supervise the visitation?
That's right.
Your Honor, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. I'm already filing a motion because we did arrive at the courthouse yesterday and Michael became very sick and we had to leave. The judge is aware of that and we're filing a motion to take care of that.
Okay. The problem is the judge has directed in that family court proceeding, I'm reading between the lines based upon my experience, that the only way that he can see his 3 children, because of whatever history the judge knows about, is if you supervise the visitation.
Which I do.
Well, you clearly didn't at this time.
Not on this day, but it was agreed.
I'm not sure it was agreed. 2 parties cannot agree to overrule a judicial determination. The judge has made a determination based upon the best interests of the children. Judge has made a determination that some other person be there to supervise and had enough confidence in you
Right.
to say that other person was supposed to be you.
Right.
So at least on this occasion, and according to Ms. Bird on other occasions, your son saw the children unsupervised by you, as a result of which he's now lost, albeit temporarily, his right to see his children, which is traumatic for him, but also very traumatic for the children.
Right.
I'm sure it is very traumatic for the children, Ms. Bird.
I know that.
You know, I can understand that you feel as if they're my kids and I should be able to see them whenever I want to see them. But right now you have to swallow your pride, you have to swallow your ego, and you have to do what the court tells you to, because your children shouldn't feel as if you've abandoned them.
Right.
I agree.
And at their age, they won't understand this business about supervised, not supervised. All they will know is that their daddy doesn't see them anymore. So if the judge says to you, jump, you say, how high do I have to jump to see my children?
And I agree to do everything possible.
Yeah, well, stop telling me you agreed to do everything. You did a lot of things wrong, Michael. And your mother knows you did a lot of things wrong. But she looks like a nice lady. And so do you.
Thank you.
But you 2 ladies, I certainly hope, can get it together. And even if you have to say to yourselves, listen, our kids have made their mistakes. I'm not going to take sides. I just want to be there for my grandchildren because they're the only innocents.
They're my #1 priority.
Well, they're supposed to be, because he's cooked already. And if he's got certain problems, which only his mother knows, right, Mr. Stapp? He's got certain problems, he's going to have to deal with them. He made 3 children, he's supposed to be a good father.
And he is.
Well, I worry about that, because he's done certain things that I hear about just today that show me that he lacks good judgment.
Well, there's problems on both sides.
I'm sure there are problems on both sides,
Yeah.
but this clearly is a lack of good judgment. Leaving your kids in the car to go inside to get copies of court papers so that your girlfriend can serve them on your wife during exchange of visitation when you're late anyway is not smart.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Are you in a family dispute? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
How long were you out of work?
I missed 1 full day, which was the next day because of pepper spray in my eye I couldn't see. And then I missed I worked 12-hour shifts in the emergency room. So
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a unit assistant.
What does that mean?
I do everything an RN does, but I don't do injections.
You're the adults, they're the children. Unfortunately,
Correct.
the children had children. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Thank you, Your
Parties are
Honor.
excused. You may step out.
Could I have my picture?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Well, I think she was fair. My only alternative was to get out of the car and try to get those children away from him.
I think what I did was kind of unfair to the kids and also Lori. I believe that I could have done things different instead of what I did do.
party's on Strews versus Scherzer. Step forward, please.
44-year-old Joseph Strews is suing 29-year-old Robin Scherzer, a woman he met while she was performing as an exotic dancer. Joseph claims he loaned Robin money to purchase a car and expected to be paid back. Robin says the car was a gift and she owes Joseph nothing.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 181 in the matter of Strews versus Scherzer. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, ma'am.
Sir, you allege in your complaint that you made a loan to the defendant of $1,600 for the purpose of buying a used car.
Yes, Your Honor.
She says it was a gift.
She's
So
wrong,
why
Your
don't you tell me what prompted you to lend this young woman $1,600 to buy a car?
Well, Your Honor, I met the defendant in June. I think you've read the statement, and I have a little problem with wanting to help girls out, and I admit that, but she had her car repossessed by her mother earlier, and she wanted to get out of the job that she was doing at the time that I met her, so she needed an automobile to gain employment as a personal assistant. So at the time, I had enough money, and we were becoming friends and casually dating. So I offered to loan her the $1,600.
What did you say? Tell me exactly what you said and what she said.
I told her that I had the money and that I would help her with the purchase of the car. She told me that she insisted that she would pay me in October for whatever the loan for the car was. And I discussed the price with her. I said, what can you afford? Anywhere from $1,000, $2,000. We were looking at cars. And like I said, we found a car through a friend of mine that is an automobile broker, and she was pleased with the car that we had found. And
What kind of car was it?
It was a 1987 Audi 4000, Your Honor.
Okay, so you both went and saw the car together.
Yes, we did. We looked at 2 cars previous to that, and Robin was not happy with those cars, so I asked my friend to...
This is the friend.
This is the friend, Miss Moore. And I asked her to keep looking for a car that would be suitable for Robin. And when we found a car, we went test drove it, and Robin said that it'd be a suitable car for her.
So you paid for it?
Yes, I did. I have a bill of sale right here, Your Honor. I have a check receipt here. I've got everything right here.
I'd like to see your file.
Okay.
So then what happened?
Can I add something else,
Sure.
Your Honor? Okay, I am just asking for the $1,600. I'm not asking for this for the money. I'm asking it for the purpose of that this woman, I went out of my way to help her. I didn't expect anything in return from her. But after I had purchased the car, she disappeared. For 7 days, I had it set up that she could have insurance through the insurance man that insures my car. Miss Moore was going to get her to register the car. She was gone for 7 days. I asked her, I said, Robin, you need to take care of these things. She said, well, I want to get a car stereo. I said, listen, young lady, in order for you to operate a motor vehicle, you've got to take care of these things. I'd already had it set up. She got really mad at me. She said she wouldn't talk to me. I said, fine. I said, just take care of the stuff. When I spoke to her again, I said, have you taken care of it? She said, no. She said, you're being mean to me, and I don't want to speak to you anymore. I said, that's fine. I just need you to take care of this stuff. She never registered the car, and as far as I know right now, I don't know what she's doing with it.
Okay. Ms.
And
Scherzer?
I also,
Yes, Your Honor.
I understand.
Your Honor, can I also tell you that, in here I have other checks that I wrote for a sofa that I purchased for her that I didn't expect anything. Also her rent that I didn't expect anything. And, it's like, one more time, it's like my friends have told me not to do this. I'm attracted to women who work in the...
Mr. Strews,
Yes.
you say she owes you $1,600. Can I hear why she thinks that this was a gift?
Yes, I would love to hear that, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I told him not to buy me a car because I knew that there would be something else expected, something more.
You mean something physical?
Yes. And, I mean, as far as the sofa, I didn't even know he was going to go pay for that. The furniture store called me and said, your couch has been paid for. We'd like to deliver it. Can you call us and let us know when? I don't feel that I owe him any money at all. I told him that I was seeing someone. I told him that
Your
he
Honor.
could not expect anything from me, nothing. And he said that was fine. He understood. If anything, he would just like to maybe be able to spend some time with me.
Where's the car?
The car is at my house.
Where's the sofa?
At my house.
Miss Scherzer.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I say something, Your Honor?
Not while I'm getting ready to talk, sir.
Excuse me.
If you think that I believe that you're a nice young woman, you're mistaken. You're a taker. Because if what you just said to me is true, that you didn't want to accept any gifts from him because you knew that there were strings attached. Are you chewing gum?
Yes, ma'am.
Get it out of your mouth.
Okay. Your Honor.
I'm not finished.
Okay.
If somebody like this gentleman has a problem because he is generous to a fault with young women and he expects something in return, then a nice young woman
Strippers.
would say, I'm not speaking to you.
I'm sorry.
Then a nice young woman who cared about doing the right thing would have said to the furniture store, please, I don't have the money for the sofa. Return the money to the person who paid it, and when I can afford to pick up the sofa, I will pick it up. And a nice woman would have said, not only did I tell you I don't want your help with a car, but I'm not accepting a car from you because I don't want any strings attached. You, on the other hand, madam, accepted all these things.
Yes, I did.
That's
It's funny to me.
that's amoral, madam. It's cheapening yourself. It's cheapening yourself. If you knew in your head that he expected something from you in exchange for these gifts, and you were not prepared to give it to him, right?
Correct.
Then you're a tease. Did you ever hear that expression?
Did you ever?
Madam, did you ever hear that expression?
Your Honor.
Yeah.
He would stand at my door and like force me to kiss him goodbye. I never told him that there was anything that he could expect from me at all.
Miss Scherzer?
Ever.
Miss Scherzer, are you not following what I'm saying to you, madam? I mean, are you really that thick?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Obviously, she's very angry. She thinks that I'm like a desperate man, but, you know, I've got two women with me right here, you know? It's like, how desperate could I be?
And later today,
I didn't see a naked woman. If I did, I'd sure as hell remember it.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Robin Scherzer says when Joseph Strews bought her a car, he called it a gift. But now that their friendship is over, he wants to be compensated.
When you tease someone, that means you hold a carrot in front of them like this. Okay? And you say, maybe you can have it, maybe you can't.
No.
Now,
There
if
is
you are
never-
not, however, put
Your
your
Honor.
hand down.
I'm
Don't you know
sorry.
when to shut up? If, however, you are an honest person, you say, I want nothing to do with you, sir. I want you to take your gifts. I want you to take your money. I want you to take your sofas and your rent money and your cars and everything else. I want you to leave me alone. And if you don't leave me alone, because I'm not interested in you, I'm going to call the police. I'm going to get a restraining order so that you don't come to my door anymore. You, on the other hand, were dishonest with him. I find that to be absolutely immoral. You got it?
Yes.
Good. Judgment in this case is for
Your
the
Honor?
plaintiff in the amount of $1,600. That's all.
Thank
Parties
you,
are
Your
excused.
Honor.
You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Don't get mad, sweetheart.
No, I'm not
mad at you.
I'm not mad at all.
You're very mad.
No.
You're lying about me
No,
up there.
I think you're a joke.
You're calling me,
actually.
you're calling me a desperate man. Do I look like a desperate man? I don't have any problem with women. I met her through an agency that she strips. She did. And
No,
I don't blame her. I don't think there's anything wrong with girls
Why
that
were you
strip.
calling that agency?
It's like,
do you have to call
we won't
people?
go into-
Do you have to call people to get them to come to your house to do that?
Honey,
Is that how desperate you are?
You're not bothering me by this. It's an expensive lesson, but I still date strippers.
And now the next case.
Parties on Miguel versus Parker. Step forward, please.
Rosalinda San Miguel is suing her exterminator, Brandon Parker, because she claims he entered her apartment without knocking and saw her in the nude. She's suing for mental anguish.
All right. You're in the shower.
I was getting ready to take a shower.
And you heard a knocking on your door?
Yes.
What did you do?
I went to my son's bedroom to look through the window to see who it was.
And who was it?
It was a pest control man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pest control.
Yes.
An exterminator.
Right.
Correct.
Of bugs.
Excuse me?
Of bugs.
Bugs, anything?
Anything. And so what did you do?
When I seen that it was him, I ignored it because I hadn't ordered no services for that day. So as I proceeded to go down the hallway to go back into the bathroom, I saw like a light in my living room. And when I went in there, he was in my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time when I went in there, I was naked.
When and where?
Into the living room because I had removed all my clothing already when I was getting ready for my shower.
So you're suing him for all kinds of pain, suffering, and distress because he let himself into your apartment and saw you naked. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, Mr. Parker.
Yes, ma'am. I was going to this apartment complex for my first time. We had just gotten the account, and they gave me a sheet of paper of a list of apartments to do. And they told me to pick 5 apartments out of this, about 20 apartments on there to do, so I went about doing that.
How did you get into these 5 apartments? So you picked 5 apartments?
Right.
How did you get into these 5 apartments?
The management sent a maintenance person with me, plus they gave me a key. Halfway through doing these apartments, the maintenance person left. So I chose her apartment was one of the last ones I was to do, and I went to her door, I knocked, and I knocked, and I knocked, and no one would answer the door.
Mm-hmm.
So I assumed the apartment was empty, and I was to go in there, do my business, and get out and get gone. So I unlocked the door, opened the door, said pest control. I yelled it 3 times, and then about after the 3rd time, she came through the hallway. She was not naked.
She was?
She was not naked.
What was she wearing?
She had a long t-shirt on and what appeared to be shorts. And as I was trying to understand her, what she was trying to say to me, she was pushing me out the door. I was trying to explain to her what I was to do, and it came out to be that I had mistaken her apartment for another one that was in the same area.
Let me understand this. Was her apartment number on this list that you got?
Yes, ma'am, it was.
I also have a copy of the work order log. I had ordered for services 6/20/97, and it specifically says spiders outside only.
Miss Miguel, the problem is, when I read your complaint and I read his answer, it appears to me that this gentleman was told that your apartment was one of those apartments that was to be serviced that day. Do you understand?
Yes.
So my question is, if that is true, then you are suing the wrong person. You should be suing your management company, the people who told him to go into your apartment. What are you suing him for?
Correct.
He was following instructions.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I just felt I was very violated. I really was. I can understand a mistake, like I've said, but when you're asked to leave, you are to leave.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rosalinda San Miguel is suing her exterminator, Brandon Parker, because she claims he entered her apartment without knocking and saw her in the nude. She's suing for mental anguish.
On this work order log, Your Honor, it states the date of services that were supposed to be done that day.
You mean this is the work order log that he had?
This is the work order log that my management had.
Not that your management. I want to see the one that he had.
It's
so
the same
I
one.
will. What?
It's
the
the
same
same
thing?
one, Your Honor.
Let me see.
The one highlighted is my apartment, Your Honor.
Okay. President. Sir, I'd like you to look at this. This is what your employer submitted.
Right.
I'd like you to take a look at that piece of paper, please. And I have a copy of it. Does it not indicate that her apartment was only to be serviced outside?
Yes, that's what I'm saying is on the line above it, it says roaches. Whenever I went to do that, I was a busy day, and I had misread the line above it on what I was spraying for.
No, you didn't tell me that before, sir.
Well, I should have. I'm sorry.
No, you didn't tell me that before. Before, you told me that you had received a list, you went into the list, and it turned
Yeah,
out to be...
This is what I was received.
So you went into the wrong apartment.
Right.
The management company didn't tell you to go into that apartment. You went into the wrong apartment.
They told me to pick 5 apartments from this whole sheet.
Right, but
They
her
didn't.
apartment says spiders outside.
Right.
So what'd you go inside for?
Because I misread the line above
Because you
it.
made a...
Mistake.
Okay. That's simple.
Right.
Now, you made a mistake. So you're not suing his boss, who clearly has deep pockets, much deeper pockets, because you could have. You understand that.
Yes.
That was your mistake.
Yes,
He made a mistake. Now, is this a $5,000 mistake? Because that's what you're suing for? You're going to have to explain to me why this was a $5,000 mistake, Ms. Miguel, because I can see an apology and some sort of minimal compensation, but quite frankly, I don't see where this mistake, and it was clearly an honest mistake, is worth anywhere near $5,000.
Your Honor, we're all human. I know we all make mistakes. And I mean, my heart's not that cold, you know, to say, okay, you made a mistake. But when he went in, and I told him, what are you doing in here? He told me that he had a work order, you know, to spray for roaches. I go, I don't have roaches. You need to leave. He told me, no, you signed a waiver with your manager that I can come in here. And I told him, I never did no such thing. I asked him to leave about 3 or 4 times, Your Honor, and he would not leave. I had to take the master keys myself from the lock, and I threw them and I shoved them out my door. And I told him, I will meet you in my manager's office, because he refused to leave my home. I told him, I live here, and I'm telling you to leave, and he wouldn't leave.
Well, you understand, Ms. Miguel, that he honestly believed that he had a work order to do your apartment. You understand that? I mean, he wasn't making that up. He honestly believed that he had a work order. He misread a line. How many times did she ask you to leave, sir?
As far as I remember, I heard maybe once or twice.
Well, why didn't you leave right away?
Because I was trying to understand what she was wanting me to do.
She wanted you to leave.
Yes, I understand that, but she was speaking so fast, I was having trouble understanding her.
How long have you been working for this exterminating company, sir?
Approximately 5 to 6 months.
How much do you earn a day?
About $50 a day.
You have family?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of family do you have?
I have a wife and a young child.
How old's your child?
He's going to be a year in September.
How much money do you bring home a week?
Approximately $200.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, it is.
Doesn't sound like a lot of money.
It's not.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Now, he makes $50 a day. He. The exterminating company, they make probably a lot more than $50 a day, right?
Yes, we do.
But you didn't sue them. You sued him. I think he made an honest mistake. I think he probably didn't act appropriately right away because he couldn't understand you. You were very upset. Should have left right away when she told you to leave.
I understand that.
You understand that?
Yes.
It's going to cost you 2 days' pay. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $100. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
And on the next Judge Judy.
She was wearing a long T-shirt and it looked like something was under it.
When I ran back into the bathroom, I did put some clothing on.
I didn't see a naked woman. If I did, I'd sure as hell remember it. I tried apologizing there on the spot and she wouldn't listen to me.
That's not true. You never try apologizing.
I think she's only after one thing, and that's money.
Now, Pursuit, you're telling me that he's terminated and he's not?
I never said he
You
was
told
gonna-
the police officer. I have it right
I
here.
didn't talk to the police officer,
Oh, no,
ma'am.
but your wife, Sandy, did. She called my
We
home
had a-
and told me he was terminated.
We had a
And
list
he
of
was not
Brandon
terminated.
Serpent. We had to
But
see what
that's
Brandon
okay.
has to say.
That's okay.
If she wants to do a polygraph test, hey, let's go.
Thurman versus Cardenas. Step forward, please.
Music manager Sheila Thurman says her landlord, Carol Cardenas, is responsible for her home being burglarized. Carol is countersuing Sheila for breaking her lease.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 79 on the calendar in the matter of Thurman versus Cardenas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Mrs. Thurman, you and your family were renting an apartment or a house from the defendant.
Yes, a house.
According to your complaint, when you rented this house, the defendant left a pool table there, and there was an understanding between the two of you that she would come and pick it up at some point.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
And you claim that she had someone, I assume that that's this gentleman here, without notifying you, come into the house
Yes.
to pick up the pool table.
Mm-hmm.
And this is your son?
That's my son.
And he was the one who was home.
Yes, he was.
So step up here, sir. Tell me your name.
Teron Bailey Thurman.
Where were you when he came into the house?
I was asleep on the floor in front of the TV.
So you were asleep in front of the television?
Yeah, I'm asleep in front of the TV, and I awake to find two gentlemen behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, of course, I'm scared. You know, my immediate questions are, who are you and what are you doing here?
And what did they say?
What
did this gentleman say?
This gentleman was basically like, well, we came to get the pool table. Carol sent us.
And did
I'm
you know
like,
who he was talking about?
Yeah, I know he was talking about Carol. The thing is, I asked him how he got in, and he said that Carol gave them keys.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. They proceeded to take the pool table apart. They asked to go see upstairs for some measurements for some windows in my mom's office.
Once they told you that they were there to pick up the pool table for Carol,
Mm-hmm.
and once you were comfortable enough, so when they said they wanted to go measure some stuff upstairs for the windows,
I
you
led
knew what
them
they-
upstairs.
You knew what they were talking about, measuring the stuff for the
Yeah.
windows? So you knew that. So after your initial fright of waking up and finding these two people in your house,
Mm-hmm.
then after that you figured that they were there legitimately.
I mean, yeah, they seem, I mean, to seem to be real, you know?
Right.
I mean,
Now, so they went up together to measure,
yeah.
and what were you doing?
I stood in the doorway,
Which doorway?
the doorway of the room that they measured. There were two windows in the room.
So you accompanied them upstairs,
Right.
and then where did you go?
I led them back downstairs,
Mm-hmm.
and they started taking the pool table apart.
Yes.
One gentleman kind of disappeared from my sight for a little bit. I mean, I really didn't pay much attention to it then, but, you know, hindsight is 20/20. He came back, you know, and they took the pool table out piece by piece. My mom calls, and she informed me that she didn't know anything about anyone coming there to get anything.
Right.
And basically, I'm like, well, you didn't know? And she's like, well, no. When did you let them in? How long have they been there? And I'm like, well, they were here when I woke up, you know, already getting started on things.
Okay, and then they loaded the pool table and they left.
Well, they talked to my mom on the phone a little while, and
Okay.
then they drove.
Left.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you know that you did the wrong thing by giving somebody the keys to the house without first contacting her. You know that.
Well, we contacted her by telephone.
You never spoke to her according to your papers.
No, we left a message.
Right. But you never spoke to her according to your answer.
James called, and I believe he did not speak to her.
Step up, please. You called and left a message.
Twice.
When did you call?
I called on Sunday around 10 a.m. and also Monday prior to coming out, which would have been 10 a.m.
So you never actually reached them on the phone?
No.
So it was a mistake, absolutely, until you make arrangements with them to give anybody the key to her home. Had you been paying rent up until that time?
Yes, she had.
Is she still living in your home?
Yes, she has. But she's not paying the rent, and she hasn't since March. Last payment was February.
I read that because you have a countersuit.
Yes.
Why haven't you paid rent?
She's been paid up, and only rent that she did not get was April and May. The reason I didn't pay for April and May because I felt like my privacy had been invaded. My things were stolen out of my house. She gave two strangers keys to my house. She did not know them. She didn't know them.
You can't withhold rent. You can't withhold rent.
Well, I wrote her a letter that I was going to move, and I was living off of my security in March.
Just a second. Miss Thurman, this happened in January.
She was paid.
Shh. This happened in January, correct?
Yes.
Good. And you say you paid her in February?
Yes, I did.
Correct?
Yes.
And you say you told her to use March, the security for March, correct?
That's correct.
And then you started to think about how angry you were. Let me see the police report where you reported to the police that things were stolen out of the house.
Well, you know what? Actually, the police told me, they said it couldn't file criminal report because there was not forced entry. That's exactly what they told me. The fact is that she gave somebody keys to my house, invaded my privacy. I got a teenage daughter with 2 men coming in. What if she would have been home? That's what I'm feeling about.
Well, she wasn't
And my
home.
things were gone.
Your Honor?
Just go ahead.
I will, you know, in hindsight, agree with you that I did make a mistake.
It was a mistake.
I agree.
Absolutely the wrong thing to do. Okay. What kind of work do you do, sir?
I'm a professional mover, ma'am.
And you were doing this as a favor for her?
No, she paid me to do this. She hired me to do this. Their facts are close, but we did make entry to the house after knocking on the door repeatedly, went to the back, knocked on the back, and then we did come in.
Okay.
And,
It was a mistake.
Was a mistake. Her son jumped up, and immediately he asked us who we were, because I'm sure he was startled, I would be. And I told him what we were going to do. I provided him with a written authorization to remove the pool table, signed by Carol. And at that point, he was very at ease with us. I also knew that he was 18 because I asked him, and he started talking about college, and I just said, okay, well, we'll go ahead and stay here, because I was a little uneasy having a young man there. He took us upstairs, all the way into the room, to the windows. I made him point them out, because I didn't want to measure the wrong windows, and then we all came back downstairs, and my coworker and I started loading the pool table. And at the end, after it was loaded and I was outside, he brought the phone out with his mom on the phone. He actually had 2 phones in his hand. One he was talking to his girlfriend, the other one his mom, and said, here, you talk to her. I don't want to.
Just a second. There's noise out there. Would you please step outside? Thank you. Where's the TV in your house?
We have like 4 TV. We have like a TV in every room.
And how many VCRs?
At least 3.
Yeah, they're big things like this, right?
Yeah, the regular size VCRs.
Regular size VCRs.
Yes.
Yeah. And how big is the computer?
It's a laptop.
So it's also about so big, right?
Exactly.
Right. So you're claiming that they walked out with your 18-year-old son there with a VCR.
Yes, I am.
I don't believe
Yes,
you.
I am.
I'd like
They were there.
You want to know why I don't believe you? Since this happened in January, you paid her February's rent, and you wrote her a letter that March rent was going to be paid off with your security.
That's right.
If in fact this wasn't a delayed reaction to non-paying rent, you wouldn't have paid her a dime in February, and you wouldn't have paid her anything for March. And yet you did. But now you're hanging over April and May and still not paying rent.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
Mr. Chrysler, did you pay that money?
No. She broke off the relationship because she went out and had an affair.
What does that have to do with the $2,200?
Why should I pay her back for ruining my life?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheila Thurman says her landlord, Carol Cardenas, gave her house keys to movers when they came to move a pool table. Sheila claims items are missing, and she's holding Carol responsible.
You are entitled to something for the fact that she allowed somebody else to come into your house, but I am finding that I am not satisfied that they stole anything out of your house. Period. So she has to pay you for some sort of inconvenience that you suffered and the fright of your son and for allowing somebody to come into your house without your permission. Now, you have a counterclaim, and your counterclaim is for unpaid rent.
Yes.
Now, how much was the rent per month?
$2,400, $2,400.
$2,400 a month. I am awarding you, Mrs. Thurman, $1,000 for your pain and suffering and startling. Do you understand? Yours. When are you planning to move out of this house?
The middle of June. I have been looking.
Just a second, please. She says the
I'm
middle
just
of
being
June.
honest. That's
She
all.
says the middle of June. I am going to assume that she will be there 3 months without paying rent. So that's $7,200. I'm deducting the $1,000 from that, which leaves $6,200. And I'm awarding you the maximum I can on your counterclaim, which is $5,000 for non-payment of rent. Do you understand? Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think the judge is very unfair, and I think she's just as much of an idiot as this lady here for letting somebody take 2 keys and come into my home and invade my privacy and steal my belongings.
It's hard for me to accept the fact that she's getting any form of settlement. However, wholly I do feel justice has been done in terms of the fact that I will be getting settlement.
Judge Judy sees the truth.
Yeah.
And now the next case.
Parties on Ely versus Chrysler. Step forward, please.
36-year-old workman's comp claim agent Julia Ely claims her ex-fiancé, 35-year-old mechanic Daniel Chrysler, owes her for credit card bills and a motorcycle purchased while they were together. Daniel says she's the one who wanted the motorcycle.
You and the defendant were engaged to be married, and according to your complaint, he had a credit card on which there was a balance.
Yes.
What was the balance?
It was approximately $2,200.
And then he wanted a motorcycle, according to you.
Yes.
So you transferred the balance of his credit card to a new credit card that you had that had a 0 balance.
Yes.
And you added on to that the motorcycle.
Yes.
And the motorcycle was in your name?
It was both of our names.
And then the engagement was broken?
Yes.
Yes,
Who took the motorcycle?
I did.
And did you make some payments on it?
No.
To her?
Prior to the breaking off of the engagement, yes, I did.
How many payments did you make?
6, approximately.
So for 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
And how much did you make in payments each month?
I'm not sure what the credit card balance was. For some reason, $80 a month, what the minimum payment was.
Okay. So, at least while you were together, you acknowledged this debt,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Then you broke up and you stopped paying. Why?
I initially did not want the motorcycle. I wanted it, but I couldn't afford it, and I knew it. And I told her this. I says, I can't afford it. I came home from work one day, and she says, I paid off your credit card and put it all on this card. Now you can get the motorcycle, and we'll write a check off of this credit card and do this.
But your credit card bill was your bill that you had been paying, I assume. I'm not talking about the motorcycle. I'm talking about your original credit card.
Correct. She also told me that if I gave the motorcycle back to her, she'd sell it to pay off that credit card.
Well, but even if she sold it, you still had a debt of $2,200.
That's what the selling of the motorcycle would cover, Your Honor.
No, sir. Listen to me. I'm not great in math. If you buy a motorcycle for $1,700, motorcycles don't appreciate in value. It means they don't go up in value. If you sell it, it becomes less valuable. You get less money for it. I'm not talking about the motorcycle. Forget the motorcycle for a moment, because you repossessed the motorcycle from him. And you're going to sell it, and so you're really suing for a very small part of what you're suing for is the motorcycle. The majority of it is this $2,200 that you originally had on your credit card.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Chrysler, I want you to concentrate on the $2,200 that you owed a credit card. Forget motorcycle.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Julia Ely and Daniel Chrysler were engaged to be married. Julia wants Daniel to pay for bills and a motorcycle now that they have split.
Let's talk about the $2,200, sir. According to you, you made 6 payments of $80.
Yes.
Is it because you paid utilities and that kind of stuff that you feel as if you're not responsible for that
She
debt?
went above and beyond my control to get this motorcycle.
Forget motorcycle.
The motorcycle is the whole issue because she transferred money around so I could afford to make payments on it. And I didn't want it to begin with.
Mr. Chrysler, I want you to forget motorcycle for a moment. I want you to concentrate on the $2,200 that you owed a credit card. Before motorcycle, no motorcycle. Did you pay that money?
No.
My question is...
I was in the process of paying.
But you stopped.
She broke off the relationship because she went out and had an affair.
What does that have to do with the $2,200?
Why should I pay her back for ruining my life?
Okay, now we get down to it. So that's your reason. Got it? Now I understand.
She wants everything back. She's even gone to the point where she sent me a letter. She wants birthday presents back. She wants my daughter's Christmas presents
Mr. Chrysler,
back.
shh. She's not getting birthday presents. She's not getting Christmas presents. Whatever reason the relationship was terminated, you have this $2,200 debt. You have no valid reason not to pay that $2,200 debt. I'm not talking about the motorcycle. I'm talking about the debt that you owe. Because those were your bills, right? Those are things that you bought for yourself that, but for the fact that they were transferred to this new credit card, you would be responsible for.
So then it's legal for her to take and do things without my knowledge, prior to my knowledge, excuse me.
Mr. Chrysler, if somebody, your fiance, your wife, your girlfriend, does something with your finances that you're not satisfied with, what you do is, that day, you say, you had absolutely no right to do that. These are my responsibilities. I love you, dear, but don't take it upon yourself to do that. You don't acquiesce in doing it, pay for a period of time, and then conjure up an excuse at the end why you're not responsible for it anymore. That's not the right thing to do. So you owe her the $2,200, less some payments. Now, how many payments did he actually make?
He made payments on May 20th, July 4th.
Just a second. May 20th for how much?
$77.
Go ahead. Next payment.
July 4th.
Yeah.
$77.
Mm-hmm.
August 5th, $77. And August 20th, $84.
I don't agree with it because it feels like that she's trying to have her cake and eat it too, Your Honor. She wants she acts like she wants to keep the motorcycle, in which selling the motorcycle will cover that credit card balance.
No, sir. What she says is, and quite frankly, in her complaint, it's rather fair, she says that she has taken the motorcycle in and that she'll be able to get $1,400 for the motorcycle.
That's not right. I can get $2,000 for that motorcycle. Right now.
Oh.
I could sell that motorcycle for $2,000.
Well, then, sir, if you could have sold the motorcycle for $2,000, why didn't you sell it and pay it off when you, after your engagement was terminated? You stopped making the payments. Why didn't you do it?
Because I wanted
it. Dad, I
Just
don't...
She has it
say
back.
nothing.
She can sell it.
Do me a favor. Say nothing.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Okay. He had a balance of $2,200 that he acknowledges on the credit card. The motorcycle was $1,700, bringing us to $3,900. I'm giving him credit for the $315 that he paid, bringing us down to $3,595. So far, is that correct, my mathematician?
Yep.
And I am reducing that by $1,400 in the amount that you say you can sell the motorcycle for, leaving a balance of $2,195. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused.
Not right,
Step
Your
out.
Honor. I'm sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy. The young lovers eloped in Las Vegas. Now they won't let her mom see her grandson.
Why?
Because she's a psycho.
She has a problem.
Real people. Judge Judy.
Overall, I'm happy that I got something from him. He got married and stopped making payments.
If she wants that money back, all she has to do is sell that bike, and I know she can get the full amount for it.
This woman is not what she looks like. Trust me.
Party's on Phillips versus Nance. Step forward, please.
Henry Phillips, a 45-year-old nursing assistant from Chicago, is suing his coworker, Tina Nance. Henry says he filed this lawsuit after getting into a heated argument with Tina over her pet cockatoo.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 165 on the calendar in the matter of Phillips versus Nance. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Am I correct, Mr. Phillips, that you and the defendant worked together?
Fortunately, no, Your Honor.
Did you work together?
No.
Well, you work in I couldn't quite figure that out from this complaint. You work in a hospital.
Correct, Your Honor. I am a practitioner RN from Ohio, and I was supposed to do 11 to 7.
Shh. You are a nurse.
Right.
In a hospital.
Right.
What kind of a hospital?
Rehab. Rehabilitation.
Psychiatric rehabilitation?
Alzheimer's, broken body parts, etc.
Do you work in that hospital?
No, ma'am.
Were you a patient in that hospital?
No, ma'am.
Well, how did you come to be in the hospital with him?
I was not at a hospital. Where he was where I was.
Just a second. This is, hey.
Order.
We worked on
Can we
different...
start over?
Okay.
All right, we're going to start over.
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Phillips.
Yes.
You and the defendant work at the same facility.
Unfortunately...
The answer is yes or no?
At that particular time, yes.
All right.
But different wings, Your Honor.
Okay, different wings.
Yes.
And you had an argument with her.
No, I did not, Your Honor.
So then why are you here, sir?
I am here because the fact that on my break, I had to go through her unit to get to the foyer, or let's say get to the patio for a cigarette. And earlier that day, I had been hearing the noise of a cat, and I thought the zoo had came in for the older people. And when I went to her wing, I noticed there was a cockatiel there. And
a cockatiel, you mean a bird?
Yes. And I complimented the bird. She wasn't present at the time when I made the compliment.
What did you say about the bird?
How pretty the bird is, how old the bird is, how big he is.
Who had the bird?
There was another employee who had the bird on their shoulder.
Now, this is a large white bird?
Yes, yes. And upon my giving compliments, this lady came out of nowhere, the defendant came out of nowhere, cursing and swearing, and telling me it wasn't a cockatiel, it was a cockatoo, and I should pronounce my words correctly, and she was ballistic. She went ballistic, Your Honor. And
just a second. Let me understand this. You said, what a nice cockatiel.
Yes.
And what you're telling me is she came out of nowhere and was angry because the bird, she said, was a cockatoo.
Right, right. And so I continued to go outside for my cigarette break. Oh, let's say a matter of minutes, between 2 and 3 minutes, this lady came out cursing, swearing, ballistic again. I put the cigarette out, went back onto my unit, and a couple of...
Without telling me the swear words, because I've heard them all, what was the gist of what she was saying to you?
That she just didn't like me.
Had you ever seen her before?
No, Your Honor.
Okay.
No.
So then you put out your cigarette, you went back to your unit.
Yes.
And what happened next?
Later on, maybe an hour or so, the supervisor called. And the lady who I was working with, she called me and told me that the supervisor wanted to speak to me over the phone. When I got to the nurse's station, I got the phone call. The nurse was telling me that this lady had called her and told her that I had cursed her out, that I had threatened her, that I had made her life miserable, her time there miserable, and not to go in that area again if I can avoid it. Go around for your next cigarette. So I said, fine, no problem. But I don't know who you're talking about, because she tried to describe the lady to me. I did not know her, so it was hard to describe her to me. But when I realized it was over the bird, I knew who the person was involved. And so between 9 o'clock and 10:30, I went on my second break. And I went around like I had been asked to. When I did, I noticed she, with this fella here, they came on the grounds. This guy came on the grounds with a sleeveless shirt on and short pants. He passed security and 3 units to come looking for me. She brought him to my unit, introduced him to the RNs who were on the unit as her son. Some told me that they were afraid that something was...
Don't tell me what they told you. She introduced them as her son.
Okay.
Tell me what happened with you.
And when after, at 11 o'clock is the end of the shift. Upon my leaving, he and 4 more men got out of a car. He approached me, and he said to me, and I quote, "Man, what is this I heard you saying to my mother? Why are you giving my mother a hard time? My mother, you say you're gonna rape my mother?" And I looked at him like he was crazy. I said, "Look at her. Look at me. What do I want with that?" And I left it at that. And I said, "I can't believe this." I immediately went back into the hospital. I asked the supervisor who I had talked to earlier to call the Evergreen Police Department. She told me, "You call them yourself." Now, by the way, I didn't make it clear, I am agency. I am agency. That means I go wherever I'm needed.
So you don't work for the hospital. You
No.
work for an independent... You work for an independent agency, and they send you to various locations.
Yes, because I work for various hospitals.
So the hospital
as well
said to you, "Listen, you're not our responsibility. If you have a problem, you call yourself." To the police.
Right. No, she really set out of fright, Your Honor.
So you called the police, sir?
Yes, I went to the nurse's station and I called the police. Immediately, there was 2 squad cars and a paddy wagon.
Just a second. Is that what happened? Is that what you're suing about?
No, I am suing, Your Honor, for... Excuse me for just a minute, Your Honor.
Is that the incident that you're suing over, sir?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
Have you told me about the incident now?
Yes, and here's you have a copy of the police report?
I don't have a copy of the police report, sir. I will take a copy of the police report.
Copy. This is the police report, and it states there...
Don't tell me what it states. I can read. What I'm asking you, sir, is have you concluded what the argument was with...
Your Honor, to be honest with you...
the defendant on that day? Because I have...
No, Your Honor. No, I did not. Because, like I said earlier, I do not know this lady, nor do I wish to be affiliated with this lady in any way, shape, or form. And when she told lies, I felt that it was slander. And she herself, it is a known fact that they... It's a known fact that they...
You're suing her for slander, Mr. Phillips.
Yes,
You've got to cut this short, sir.
Yes.
You're suing her for slander. And the slander you say is when she told her son or somebody else that you were going to rape her.
Right, and I also have...
Is that right so far?
Yes, and
Is there any other slander that you're suing her for? Yes or no?
Okay, no, I'm not. No other slanders, but the violation of my civil right was denied. There was an unlawful weapon on the premises, which she had. She was intoxicated as well.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And if I'd have cursed him out, you'd have heard it over here in California, all the way from Chicago.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nursing assistant Tina Nance says she was worried for her safety when her co-worker, 45-year-old Henry Phillips, picked a fight with her over her pet cockatoo.
Now you want to tell me your version of what happened, madam?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
I work at Advocate Transitional Care Center. I am a CNA, the same thing he is, which is a certified nursing assistant.
How long have you been working there?
I have been there 10 years. I work in the Alzheimer dementia wing. On this date in question, my daughter had her cockatoo. She is a Moluccan cockatoo, okay? He comes back in my wing where I worked in the 600 wing. He was supposed to be in the 500 wing. He come back there to tell me this was not a cockatoo, it was a cockatiel. I said, excuse me, I think I know what this bird is. It upset him and he continued to argue with me that this was a cockatiel and not a cockatoo. So he explained to me that a cockatiel is 1 and a cockatoo is 2 or more, okay? I stayed in my wing. This man kept coming through the 600 wing. He did not have to come through the 600 wing. He kept coming through there trying to agitate. This went
No,
on about
tell me,
6 hours.
Tell me what he was saying when you say he was trying to agitate. What was he saying to you?
It wasn't that he said anything to me, Your Honor. He didn't say anything to me when he was coming through, but we knew he didn't have to come through the 600 wing.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. After this went on, I talked to my supervisor, and I explained to her the situation and what this man had said.
Well, what did he say that you explained to your
supervisor? When we were outside, I went out to have a cigarette like he did. I told him if I was going to call you a liar, I would have my facts straight, which was meaning that this is not a cockatiel, it's a cockatoo. He told me to go to the UK. I don't know what that is and where it is. I tried to walk on inside. He told me he was going to mess me up. He was waiting for me. I went in, I talked to the supervisor, I explained to her what had happened and what had been said. I went back to my unit. He continued to come through there so much that my charge nurse called the supervisor and talked to her and told her that he continually come back there to the 600 wing. He was up there in the 500 wing. You could hear everything he was saying from up in the 500 wing. And he kept coming through there. I ignored him. My charge nurse asked that he not come through there again. It was shorter for him to go through his own wing than to be coming through my wing. This man filed a report. In the police report, and I have a copy of it too, there is nothing in there about I told my son that he tried to rape me. He also said in the report, it's in black and white, that I was high or drunk, smelling of alcohol, and was a menace to the institution and should be released. Now, I'd never seen this man one day in my life, to my knowledge, Your Honor. I would not approach somebody not knowing anybody. This man came up to me and just went out of the blue sky trying to tip. If she was a crocodiliac, it wasn't his business. He'd have no business back there in my wing trying to tell me what I was doing. Then this man goes and files a police report. Then he goes and tried to sue me. Nothing in that police report says anything, okay, about a rape. Nothing says anything about a weapon. I had no weapon. It seems to me, since you called the police and you thought I had the weapon, that'd been the first thing you told him. So that would have been in the police report. That was not there, okay? Then he said that I'm drunk. That is not in the police report. So all of a sudden, a day or two later, you go and sue somebody, you come up with some more information that wasn't even there.
I listened to you. Did I listen to you? What's your name?
Michael Johnson.
What were you doing in the hospital that day?
My mother called me, told me that she had gotten into an argument.
Look at me when you're talking.
She had gotten into an argument with a man there. She told me that she thought she would be okay, but she wasn't sure because he had threatened to see her later on after work. So I came up there later around the time that she gets off of work, make sure that she's gonna get home safe. I'm standing outside talking to another woman that works there, right? He had come outside the building. Still, I hadn't known that this was the person that she even, you know, was saying that she was scared of. And he walked up to the lady that I was talking to and mentioned to her, did you hear this lady earlier arguing, talking about the bird is this, but it's that? I don't know what either one is.
And you don't care?
Know, no, not really.
Me neither.
And so she said, who? And he told her name, Tina. And she said, Tina in 600? Then that's when I said, well, Tina, well, that's my mother. What's going on, y'all? Y'all having a problem? He looked at me like I turned into a big monster, dropped his bags, ran inside the building, right? She standing outside at the time, so I'm talking to her, and she was like, well, yeah, he was the man, he was doing, but I'm gonna be all right. And a couple seconds later, police pulled up like,
All right, why don't you sit down? I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Something I don't understand.
Yes.
Why did you get so aggravated because he called the bird a cockatiel and it was a cockatoo? Why did you get so aggravated?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I hope that I am never put in a hospital by my children and have to deal with two people like you.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Co-workers Tina Nance and Henry Phillips are before Judge Judy because of a fight they got into on the job. They claim the argument started over Tina's pet bird.
Why did you get so aggravated because he called the bird a cockatiel and it was a cockatoo? Why did you get so aggravated?
I wasn't aggravated at that time.
You said you went over and corrected him and said it's a cockatoo.
This was hours later after we said hearing him up front in the 500 wing, babbling on about this bird, him constantly coming through the 600 wing. You know, this was later on after this had started. I wasn't so much upset about whether he knew what he was talking about in the beginning, but he was sending people. He sent a girl that was working up there in the front, back there, to come tell me that he's constantly going on with it. This is a cockatoo.
Miss Nance, put your hand down, sir. What I'm asking you is, if I believe what you tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you would agree that there's something wrong with him upstairs, right?
Yes.
So why would you have any confrontation with him at all? Why would you say a word to him? You did. You clearly did. You went out there, you had a cigarette when he went out, when he was out there. You engaged him. If what you're telling me is accurate, and you're a nurse who's supposed to handle people who have psychiatric problems, why would you get involved with somebody whose behavior was nutty? Why?
What I tried to do was keep the situation from being explosive. I left him alone. He kept coming to me.
No, you were confrontational. You corrected him.
In the beginning, yes.
In the beginning,
okay.
At all. All right, now,
yes.
I'm going to ask you the same question,
yes,
sir.
Your Honor.
Just listen to me. You've described conduct to me on the part of Miss Nance that appears to be a little bit nutty.
Yes.
Right? I mean, to get so excited about whether a bird is a cockatiel or a cockatoo or a parrot or a chipmunk, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, but you entered into this discourse with this lady, and I don't understand why, being a professional nurse in a psychiatric environment, you didn't just say,
Your Honor.
This is somebody I don't want to deal with.
Like I told you prior, I don't know the woman, do not wish to know the woman in any fashion. I've paid many compliments. I don't feel that this woman had to act the way she did to pay a compliment. I don't think my life or any verbal abuse should be there when I make a compliment.
What compliment?
On the bird.
You mean that the bird was a nice cockatiel?
Yes, right. And I have made many compliments. No one has ever tried to take my head off.
All right, listen, I'm ready. Ready?
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Phillips, I know that this was an egregious time for you, that it was a very unpleasant day, but not every unpleasant day results in a court suit and should result in taking up time with a court. I don't find that there was any slander that was proven, but don't put your hand down. You talked in your complaint about rape. I didn't hear anything about rape. I heard about messing you up or better watch out. I'm not even sure that that happened. All I can tell you is what I hear from both of you people is that I hope that I am never put in a hospital by my children and have to deal with two people like you. This case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thanks, Judy. Step out.
Thank you.
There you go.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy. Blood was spilled the night a bail bondsman caught up with a suspect.
You've been in jail before, you've been arrested before, you've had bond posted before. You know the drill.
Real People, Judge Judy.
As you can see, the lady is an habitual liar.
No, I have nothing to say to an illiterate, ignorant person like him. I don't have time to play games. When I want to play, I play with my grandbabies. I don't have time for him.
On Moon versus Mohan. Step forward, please.
23-year-old student Alexander Moon is suing former friend, 23-year-old John Mohan, for destroying a designer couch after a night of heavy drinking.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Your Honor, this is case number 23 on the calendar in the matter of Moon versus Mohan. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
He invited you to a party
Correct.
at your house.
Correct.
And I assume from your papers that this is your roommate.
Yes.
And you had a great time at the party.
Incorrect.
Well, you must have had a pretty good time at the party because you got blotto drunk, according to the papers, his complaint and your answer. You fell asleep on and then relieved yourself on his couch.
True.
Ruining the couch.
I assume so.
You want the money for the couch?
Yes.
You've paid him $1,000.
Slightly over $1,000.
How slightly?
Yeah, I haven't calculated. It's something like $1,025.
And you want more?
Yes, the remainder plus aggravation and...
Listen, everybody's aggravated. I'm aggravated. Bird's aggravated. Everybody's aggravated. But you don't want to aggravate me. That would be a very bad thing to do. So let's just talk about the couch.
Mm-hmm.
How much more do you want for the couch?
Subtracting his $1,000, it would be roughly $2,300.
Show me the bill for the couch.
I have it right here. The total being $3,139.
Let me see.
And it's right there.
So to completely redo this couch, reupholstery padding, cost you $3,100.
Correct.
You must have had a lot to drink.
I certainly did.
So now, tell me your defense to this additional $2,000.
I'm confused on a number of issues, but first of all, Gene, Alex's roommate, said it was going to cost roughly $3,000. I gave him $140 in cash, which I have a bank receipt for. I bought him a microwave oven on a credit card for $173 and some change. I did 1 day's work for him, helping him move his mother's apartment or something like that, which he said the fee would be $50 that he would deduct. And I also rented a budget truck to help him with that, which was approximately $50. And so that totaled somewhere around $400. He wanted more quickly. There was no way I could raise it. He insisted that I call my father to try and get the money from him. Gene and my father spoke over the telephone. My father said he was not going to pay $3,000. I guess Alex and my father spoke. My father said that they're being ridiculous in their demands, that he was going to handle this. Apparently, Alex agreed upon a sum of $625 because I have a check here for $625, a photocopy of a check. The note says, for John's accident, paid in full, written 1/30/98.
Can I see it?
You certainly can. And Alex cashed that check and signed it on the bottom, ostensibly to give to Gene. Now, I don't understand why Alex is suing me since it was Gene's property that was damaged. I further don't understand if the couch was so expensive that Gene insisted I sleep on that couch instead of the less expensive couch, which was downstairs. This couch was in Gene's room.
I could explain that, Your Honor.
It doesn't make any difference because nobody, how old are you?
I'm 23.
Because nobody anticipates that a 23-year-old man is going to pee all over a couch. So it doesn't make any difference, sir, whether you slept on the upstairs couch or the downstairs couch. It's not something, we usually don't put a nappy on somebody who's 23. When his father sent you this check, What, did you see a notation, paid in full?
It was on the bottom of the check. It said payment for the couch, and he said to me on the phone that he wanted this to be final, and I said, sorry, sir, but it won't be because there is more money owed. And he may believe that that was the final payment, but I had warned him that it wouldn't be because it was going to incur, as you can see on the invoice, additional money.
That's not what I asked.
That's untrue, Your Honor.
Just a second. That's not what I asked you. So what you're saying is you saw the notation on the bottom of this memo that said, for John's accident, payment in full. You saw that?
Yes.
Then you should have returned the check.
It was my responsibility to take care of this couch because it was my party and John was my guest. So that is why I had to I mean, I'm a student, I'm in graduate school right now, I'm on an extremely limited budget. Any monies that come in, I had to use towards replacing this couch because this couch had been put on a rush order. It was a gift for Jean's mother, and John had agreed the morning of the accident that yes, indeed, he would pay for it in full. And he has.
Did you agree to that, sir?
I said I would try and pay. I said we'd have to work out some sort of installment plan because I could not raise that $3,000 that quickly.
Mr. Mohan.
Yes.
You think it's reasonable that he should be out of pocket $2,000 for your accident?
I think it's unreasonable that he. First of all.
No. Do you think it's reasonable that he should be out an additional $2,000 for your accident? Do you think it's fair?
I paid what was agreed upon. Now, if he.
Just a second.
Yes.
When was this couch purchased, sir?
This couch was purchased in August of last year, one before, and I had it reupholstered in handmade linen to give to my mother. And there's a matching chair and ottoman that goes with it that does not match the couch anymore.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I sent him this check with a special notation. Having received and deposited the same.
Let me. There are a lot of does there. Huh? I don't like does, and I usually don't accept letters, but with all those does, I'm curious.
And later today.
Sir, listen to me.
Right.
Did you, how shall I put this in a genteel fashion? Did you finger gesture to him as you were passing him in the car?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alexander Moon says John Mohan, after a night of heavy drinking, seriously damaged roommate Jean Yee's designer couch.
Does your mother have the couch now?
The couch is waiting for the chair and the ottoman because after we had it redone, the batch of the linen, the new batch of linen that we got does not match now the chair and ottoman, so I have to pay out of my own pocket to match the chair and ottoman.
And then it's going to your mom?
It's gonna, yeah, and then it's gonna cost a little bit more, but I have not asked John Mohan to pay that. I also talked to John's father, and the reason it says paid in full is because John's father said that that is all we're gonna get out of him. And the reason I insisted on John paying full amount is because it's his responsibility, not his father's. And it's also a Philip Morris couch, brand new, to replace it. That's just to refurbish it. The couch is $9,400. The chair and ottoman is close to $6,000.
God, I never owned such an expensive piece of furniture. I wouldn't let anybody even sit on it, no less
They
somebody
weren't
was
allowed
drunk.
in my room. I did not insist him to be up there.
That's untrue. We were allowed in his room.
Listen,
yes.
Stop making excuses.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to refute.
Well, so let's get down to my question.
Certainly.
You think it's fair that either one of these two gentlemen should be any more out of pocket than they already are because you couldn't control your bladder?
I don't think it's fair. No.
Well, that's what's supposed to happen in a court. What's supposed to happen in a court is what's fair.
Well, first of all, I have here, my father could not be a witness today because he's in Boston. But I have here that what he told me from their conversation is that having received this check, I sent him this check with a special notation. I specifically pointed out to Alex Moon that I will not send any more money to him or anyone else, including Jean, if the $625 is cash. He agreed and cashed the check. Having received and deposited the same.
Let me. There are a lot of does there. Huh? I don't like does, and I usually don't accept letters, but with all those does, I'm curious. Dear son. No, there's no question that if I called his father, according to this letter, his father would say that he considered his $625 payment in full. I, however, am considering it payment in full by his father.
Exactly.
Your Honor, I have a question.
Because, Mr. Mohan,
Yes.
I think it is totally irresponsible of you to even question the fact that you damaged this man's property. This man's property. It's going to end up costing him far more than the additional $2,000 that he's requesting because he has to have 2 other pieces of furniture reupholstered. He's not asking to be compensated for that, although he very well could ask to be compensated for that. But it seems to me a 23-year-old man should take responsibility for what he does. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You know, I'm still taking a loss from this. I'm still feeling the effects of, you know, something that John had done.
It severed a relationship, it strained our relationship, and I'm glad that it's finally over and we don't have to see him anymore.
Our friendship is essentially finished.
And now the next case.
Parties on Show TV a lot versus Valentine. Step forward, please.
Loretta Shotiviarat and her 20-year-old daughter, Teresa, are suing Tim and Cynthia Valentine for kicking their car in a fit of road rage.
Who were the drivers of these 2 cars?
That would be Ramtin Mogadam.
So you can sit down. You step up here. Sit down. You were driving?
Yes, ma'am.
Is your wife?
Yes.
Have a seat. Okay. Who are you?
I own the car.
But you weren't there?
No.
Okay. You were driving, according to your complaint, your girlfriend's car.
Right.
That's your girlfriend.
Right. Or ex.
But she doesn't own the car. It's her mother's car.
Right.
You didn't know this gentleman. You're tooling along. He's tooling along, driving with his wife.
Right.
And you get into one of those male macho things on the road. So why don't you start from the beginning and tell me where you were going and what happened, sir?
I was going back to her house and pulled up behind him at the light, and he pulled through the light, and then he pulled into the shoulder. I guess I was too close behind him, and so I passed. And then he got out behind me again, and he started flashing his lights and followed me for like a mile, flashing his lights and like staying close, like turning everywhere I turned. And so I pulled over before I got to her house because I was afraid, you know, I didn't know who it was or what was going on. So pulled over, and then he kind of like parked in front of the car like to block it. And he came out of the car and he was like, you know, swearing and stuff and threatening me. So I got out and to like calm him down because he was like right there. And
what was he saying to you, sir? When he got out of the car?
he said he was sick of like these kids driving around here thinking they're cool. And I said, I don't know, you know, I hadn't ever seen him before. And so then I like offered my hand to shake his hand, and he said he wasn't gonna shake my hand. And so I kind of said something rude, and then he came, kicked the door, and jumped in his car and took off.
And that's what this lawsuit is about, because he kicked the door of the car and there was damage to the car.
Right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Ooh, you were really angry. Ooh.
I must have a big foot.
Ooh.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Loretta Shotiviarat and her 20-year-old daughter, Teresa, are suing Tim and Cynthia Valentine for kicking their car in a fit of road rage.
Your turn.
Your Honor, my wife and I were coming home from dinner, driving on a 2-lane road. This gentleman approached at a high rate of speed, flashed his lights, honked his horn, and went by and waved his IQ, as I wrote in my report, I believe, giving us the finger. And
So you were driving and he wanted to pass you. You weren't going fast enough. Is that what you're
well,
saying?
we were doing the speed limit. I think it's 25 in the area. It's actually 30. Yeah, 25 or 35 in the area. And so when he went by and did all this, I said to myself and to my wife, I said, you know, I'm sick of this. So we followed him, flashed my lights to get him to pull over, got out of the car. We exchanged some words. My wife got out of the car with me. And
Did your wife get out of the car to help you or to stop you?
Yeah, stop
Miss Valentine, you don't have to answer that question. You want to know why you don't have to answer that question?
Why?
Because I already know. Right?
Right.
Because you said to him, forget it, don't do it. Right?
Right.
Men have replaced wars with road rage. They somehow consider it an affront to their manhood. Right? If somebody cuts them off or not going fast enough or whatever. Okay. So now you're both out of the cars. And your wife got out of the car to calm you down.
Perhaps.
No.
Perhaps.
Shh. Hey.
Sorry. So we continued to exchange verbiage. Thinking it was all done, we returned in the vehicle to leave. At that time, he made a couple of remarks to me about being an old white man, which got me a little bit upset. Went back to the door and confronted him face to face. He's sitting in the car. At this time, he's swinging the door open to get out, and I put my foot up to block the door, and I guess this is where $1,100 of damage took place.
Did you, how shall I put this in a genteel fashion? Did you finger gesture to him
No,
as
I
you
did
were
not.
passing him in the car?
I didn't even know why he was pulling over. I didn't even realize I was following him that closely. We were at a stoplight. We had just passed through the stoplight.
Not sure about that. In any event, how old are you?
I'm 21.
And how old are you?
49.
In retrospect, sir, this was a very foolish thing to do, right? You want to know why? Because he looks like a nice young man, 21 years old, but he could have been one of those nut jobs who has a gun in the glove compartment or a knife, and which is why your wife came running out after you. So, I mean, you took a risk. And there's one thing in taking a risk for yourself. You took a risk for her. So that was a very foolish thing to do. Let me see the estimates for the car. You have any photographs of the car?
Yes, I do.
Ooh, you were really angry. Ooh.
I must have a big foot.
What?
I must have a big foot, I guess, according to the $1,100.
Ooh, did you see these pictures?
No.
Ooh.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Mr. Valentine, bottom line is you have to pay for the damage. You can't avoid paying for the damage. You did it, and you had no right to do it, and you shouldn't have been vigilante. But I want to talk to your wife for a second. Come up here. When you started to follow, when you saw that your husband started to follow him, what did you say to him? Do you remember?
Not exactly, but probably don't bother. He's not worth it. It's not worth it. Because I didn't know it was a male in the car.
She's right.
Because he didn't even see me and I didn't give him a finger.
Listen to me, sir.
Right.
You know, this is a good lesson for you. He's got to pay this bill. But it's a good lesson for you that especially if you're driving somebody else's property,
Not to pull
you're
over.
supposed to be responsible with it. Right?
Right.
Good. The estimate is $1,023 for the car. Your lawsuit requests $1,100, but you're not really requesting $1,100. You're requesting what it's going to cost to fix it, right? Mm-hmm. You got it, $1,023. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The young man was very disrespectful. I guess it was, my fault for going up there.
I just think I shouldn't have pulled over at all. I should have just lost him.
I couldn't believe that someone could act so irrational.
Be careful, there's a lot of crazies out there.
Party's on Cowherd versus Smith. Step forward, please.
James Cowherd claims 47-year-old Ricky Smith assaulted him and snagged his fishing pole. Ricky says James was fishing on a private lake and he had been warned not to trespass.
Order, all rise. Now, this is case number 129 on the calendar in the matter of Cowherd versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Smith, you have a home on a lake.
Yes, I do.
Where is it located?
Indianapolis, Indiana.
How many homes are on the lake?
About 35 now. It's going to be 38.
Is it a full-time residence?
Right, right.
And you believe that this is a private lake?
I believe I got court statements filed by the court and by a builder.
That it's a private lake?
Definitely.
Mr. Cowherd, according to your complaint, you knew for a long time that this was a private lake, but then you found out that the lake was no longer a private lake.
Right.
And you like to go fishing.
I do.
So you took your boat and went fishing.
No, I was fishing from the bank.
How do you get down to the bank of this lake?
Well, the area that's belongs to the park department, you can walk through it and come around the bank and fish.
So there's a park property.
Right.
And when did you start fishing on this lake?
Probably in April.
And you never fished there before because it was private?
Right.
What made you think you were allowed to fish there now?
Well, I had a newsletter that come around in my neighborhood, Devon Neighborhood Association, and when they send the letter out to me, I read it, and so I went fishing.
Okay, can I see the letter, please? So you're fishing off the bank. Were you by yourself?
I had a friend of mine who was fishing with me.
And what happened, sir?
Okay, we'd been over there fishing 2 or 3 times, and every time we'd go fishing, the sheriff would come and run us away. So I explained to the sheriff that we had a right to fish there because the property had been deeded over to the park department by Mr. Davis, the man that built the home. But they wouldn't listen to what we had to say. They'd go on and make us leave and said, no, we couldn't fish there. So after that, we went back again. And so Mr. Smith here, he came over in his boat. We was fishing there, and I had my lines out in the water. Well, he came and cursed us all out and told us, get off from over there. If he ever catches over there again, he'd come through the woods, take a 2x4, knock us in the head, knock us in the water, all the things that he would do to us. And he went on for about a half an hour, 45 minutes long, there on the bank. Meantime, before he started doing all that, he took his boat and went around and around in the water and pulled our poles in the water. So we lost our poles, so we couldn't fish any longer.
You mean because his boat was going around and around and caught the lines?
Right.
The boat caught the lines.
Right. So I told him, I said, well, you don't pull the poles in the water. He said, damn them poles. You ain't got no business over here, and I don't want to catch you over here again. If I do, I'm going to hurt you. I will hurt you. Said, the rest of the homeowners, they've been calling the sheriff on you, but you evidently you haven't heard of me before. They call me Bad Ricky. Don't you know who I am? I ain't heard no Bad Ricky. Well, I'll tell you, I'm the baddest. I'm the baddest thing in Indianapolis. I said, well, so I don't know no Bad Ricky. So he went on and on. So then when he left with the boat, well, we left. So I called the sheriff after he done threatened to knock us in the head with a 2x4, that he'd call his partners in on us, that he'd get some dogs and run us out from over there. I wanted to report it because, you know, in case something happened, and they said, well, why did all this go on and you didn't report the thing to some of the authorities?
How old was the gentleman that you were fishing with?
He was about 47.
And how old are you, sir?
62.
How old are you?
45. I'm old enough to read.
Let me ask you this question. This whole lake, how long a lake is it, by the way?
33 acres.
So it's a pretty big lake.
Right, right.
There's no other house where he's fishing. He's not standing in somebody's backyard.
No, but he's standing right in front of a sign that said, he was standing right in front of the sign right there that said, no soliciting, private lake, no fishing, no swimming, no boating, and no skating.
Mr. Smith, listen to what I said to you.
Yes.
I had a question. Give me an answer. He's standing at an area where there is no house.
Right.
So he's not in somebody's backyard.
Right.
Okay. What's the big deal?
This is all private, ma'am. Wait, ma'am, Judge.
No.
People,
What I'm
people-
asking you is, what's the big deal?
Well, the big deal is first, me and my wife, we have worked hard all life, saved to buy this fabulous home on the lake. Private drive, private residence. Nobody wants to be bothered with nobody. Okay, back on the backside, there's a walking trail, which was deeded to the, like I said, to the Parks Department, but just to walk, not to be, the fish, the lake, we have to pay to have the lake sprayed, and something happened to him, we got to pay for that because we insure all that land around there.
Just a minute. Let me read first what this newsletter says.
Excuse me, Judge. Can I say something, Judge? Anybody can go to Kinko's and make up something. Mail it out to people.
No, he didn't go to Kinko's to make this up, sir. May not be correct.
Yeah,
Listen to me. It may not be correct,
Right,
but he didn't go and write this up himself. So let me read what it says. Okay. Did you ever see this, sir?
No.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to read you.
I know what it says, ma'am.
Well, I'm gonna say-
Definitely don't have nothing to do with Mallard Lake.
No, listen to me. Is the name of your lake Mallard Lake?
Yes, it is.
Okay. This says, and it deals with Mallard Lake, the original agreement permitting a private park for the homeowners in the development is no longer in effect. The property has been deeded to the city, and the public has every right to be there.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know, anybody know who's gonna spend all this money to build a nice house on the lake? And you gotta do with somebody like this come over, sit down there with a pole fishing.
Bert.
Bert, do what
He
you gotta
says
do,
one
Bert.
more word. He goes.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. James Cowherd says he was fishing in a public area when Ricky Smith assaulted him and snatched his fishing pole. Ricky claims it was a private lake and James shouldn't be there.
Now, let me ask you this question, Mr. Coward. You were told, and I'm not excusing what happened here, you were told by the sheriff to leave how many times?
About 3 times.
And despite the fact that you were told by the sheriff to leave 3 times, you continued to come back. That wasn't a smart thing to do.
Well, okay, when I came back, it was another letter that it came out. This was the second copy that came out. So that's when I went back again.
Let me see.
Kinko's again.
Mr. Smith, you're
I'm
being
sorry, Judge,
ridiculous,
but,
sir.
you know what I mean.
You're being ridiculous, sir.
But I got letters, stuff here.
I'm going to read your letter,
letter,
sir. So this is from the Devon Neighborhood Association, which clearly again says that it had been agreed by all parties that bank fishing would be permitted from non-residential areas of the lake. Fishing from a boat would be prohibited. Even if this agreement had not been reached, bank fishing is permitted since the park site has been deeded to the city. So he had some reason to believe, based upon the newsletter from his neighborhood association, that he had every right to be in this area. Now I'm going to see your evidence, sir.
There you go. There's everything. File stamp copies from the court, stuff from the builder. We highlighted a lot of stuff for you, Judge.
Look, do you have anything after 1995, sir?
Well, see, those are, we do, ma'am. We do.
Just show me.
It's right
Wait a minute,
there.
can I come up as a witness?
Find it.
So,
Who are you?
I'm his wife, but then I'm the treasurer of the Mallard Lake Homeowners Association. The letter that you have right there from Davis is to his homeowners association in response to the newsletter. Our homeowner association has been going around and around with theirs, indicating that we do have a private lake. It is for use of residents only, and we don't want anybody else using that for liability reasons, et cetera, and privacy issues. And then that letter that you're looking at was sent to their homeowners association in response to those 2 newsletters saying the information that they printed is incorrect.
Well, this is just, but this isn't from an official. This is from a builder.
Ma'am, we build these homes on private lakes. But nobody gonna spend all this money to build on a private lake.
But they do make the
It is,
issue
ma'am.
that...
If you look at the file stamp copies, it's showing you, before we build our home, all
Parks
those things
Department
was given to
deeded.
us by 1995. That's why it was 1995. Filed stamp by our court stating that the lake is private. There is a walking trail back here, but nobody else can use the lake. It's filed in there by our courts right there.
And if you look at the plans and covenants from 95, what it shows is the homeowners association owns, and they call them lake easements, the lake and the homeowners. And then they separately deeded that part in the back that's listed as park property. The park owns up to the lake easement. After the lake easement, then that becomes Mallard Lake.
What to me is sad is that you acknowledge that there is part of the property surrounding the lake that is public property, that is a park.
Just a strip
This is
in the back.
This is a strip of land.
Whatever it is, it's a strip of land.
Right,
Is it
right.
bigger than that desk?
Right, but it's not for fishing.
Just a second. Is it bigger than this desk?
Well, it's a strip of land going way around
It's a
now.
strip of land,
Right.
a walking trail that goes around.
Right.
And your position is that it does not extend to the shore of the lake.
It does not. It stays right
Sure.
in there.
Just a second. It doesn't extend to the lake. That's your position.
Yes, ma'am.
Quite frankly, I have no current document in front of me, either from Mr. Davis
And
or
it's
from
kinda
this.
right there.
Just because Mr. Davis writes a letter, is Mr. Davis a city councilman? Pay attention!
Well, Judge, does
pay attention!
Does it make a difference because he
Pay
got a letter
attention.
from King Coles?
Pay attention.
You gonna take his letter from some place that we live there, ma'am?
I want to tell you something. You got a hot temper.
No, I don't, whatever.
No, let me tell you
Just
something.
get
You
this
got a
over with.
hot temper, which suggests to me that his version of what happened with his fishing poles is exactly what happened. Because I was about to say to you, neither one of your documents is a legal document.
I don't have a hot temper, Judge.
Sir, because you don't know how to
I
be
don't.
quiet.
Well, it don't make no difference, Judge. I'm
Because
not
you
wrong.
don't know how to be
Well,
quiet.
Judge, can I ask you a question? Don't
No,
you have a
I
hot-
don't answer questions,
Well,
sir.
forget it
I
then.
ask
Well, forget it.
questions.
It's over then. Forget it.
I ask questions.
Well, ma'am, nobody spends all this money to live on a lake and to be bothered with this, ma'am. I'm just trying to explain my case to you. You got stuff filed by our courts, by Indiana courts up here, ma'am. You're not even reading them.
For the development.
you know, you're going to tell me, forget it. Don't worry about it. It's over. Don't worry about it. That's all right. I mean, you know what I mean? You know, anybody know who's going to spend all this money to build a nice house on the lake? And you got people, somebody like this come over, sitting out there with a pole fishing. Okay, don't worry about it. I may be wrong.
Let me tell you,
Did
let
see
me
the
tell
pictures?
you why
Did you see
it
the
doesn't
pictures,
make
Judge?
any difference.
Because you don't care, Judge. Here's your pictures here, too.
Bert.
Bert, do what you got to do, Bert.
One more word, he goes. One more word, he goes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I did not want to accept the money. I didn't want to complicate the relationship.
So you didn't want to accept the money.
Right.
And she overpowered you.
closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. James Cowherd says he was fishing in a public area when Ricky Smith assaulted him and snatched his fishing pole. Ricky claims it was a private lake and James shouldn't be there.
What Mr. Smith fails to understand is he may be right and he may be wrong. He has no right to disturb your property. His recourse, if you are trespassing on the property, is to call the local authorities and have you removed.
We did, ma'am.
Well, you did, and it didn't work, so you decided to do what you did
I
yourself.
did not, ma'am. I just happened to be pulling down the lake on my big, long, 20-foot boat, and then I didn't see no fishing poles in the water. How I got a 20 big old long boat? I'm sitting way in the
Coward,
back. I'm gonna see some poles
you
in the
have
water.
bills for the
ma'am.
fishing
I'm just
poles?
sorry. I mean, that's ridiculous. I'm gonna see some poles in the water. I'm down a 20-foot boat. Did you see my sign? Y'all can look at my pictures?
I don't care about your pictures.
That's what I thought.
Bottom line is, you decided that since you weren't
I
getting
did not.
satisfaction from the sheriff's department, you were going to take care of it yourself.
I called the sheriff. They gave me, ma'am.
$227.70 for the plaintiff. That's all.
Whoopee.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Those are ours.
You know,
Out
people
the
work
back
on
door
like
to
the
your
half
right.
side. People work on, they have a lights on the, you know, lake on the, you know what I mean? What do you do? Bums come and fish on your property. Y'all see that, don't you? I live on a lake, man. I got something. He's a bum. He's a bum. He shouldn't be over here. If you want to fish for food, let him go buy food. It's a private lake, sir. If you live on a private lake, you won't want anybody over there.
I just wanted to have a day in the court with Mr. Rick. Yeah, I'm gonna fish there again, even if I have to call the sheriff and they have him to go with me.
And now the next case.
Parties on Foyadini versus Plummer. Step forward, please.
Nurse Karen Fogliandini says former boyfriend and aspiring opera singer Steve Plummer owes her for a $2,500 loan. Steve says it was not a loan. It was money in exchange for staying at his place.
You were dating each other for a while?
That's correct.
Correct.
You lent him $2,500 to fix his car.
Correct.
He didn't pay you back.
Correct.
And Mr. Plummer, I read your answer, sir. And you acknowledge the fact that she gave you $2,500? Let me, because I found this sort of curious. Said she offered me the money, and you said that we would work it out later, paying her back.
I didn't say that. She did.
She did.
Yeah, that's correct.
And you took the money under those conditions, that you would work out later paying her back, correct?
I didn't say that.
Whether you said it or not. She said, here's the money, and we'll work out a payment plan later.
Well, we'll work something out later. It wasn't a payment plan, but it was to work out
just a
something
second. What did you think she meant when she said, we'll work it out later?
Well, I don't know. You could...
Order.
Just a minute. What did you think she meant, sir?
I felt it was a gift.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Wrong.
No.
If somebody says, here's the money you asked me for, and we'll work it out later, and you accept the money, she's made it clear to you that she expects that money back.
And he had mentioned on numerous occasions that he had every intention of paying it back.
But then he had second thoughts. In your answer, you say, in thinking back, I feel the money was given to me in lieu of having a place for her to come to in the marina. Why don't you tell me about that?
She bought a home in Oxnard at the time we met. I couldn't come to see her in Oxnard if I didn't have a vehicle that was running. When the fact came that I said, you know, my car is not running, it's not working, well, let me give you the money.
Let me lend you the money.
Just a second. Just a second.
No.
Let me give you the money.
That's correct.
Go ahead.
I did not want to accept the money. I didn't want to complicate the relationship. So I decided, I thought about it, and I turned her down at one time. I said, no, I don't want to accept the money. She insisted on taking...
So you're how old are you?
40.
So you didn't want to accept the money.
Right.
And she overpowered you.
Well, I don't look at it as overpowering.
Well,
there are many reasons why people
If you didn't want to
give...
accept the money because you didn't want to complicate the relationship, something must have happened, Mr. Plummer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Go ahead.
Okay. She needed a place to come back to in the marina in the Los Angeles area. She was on call in medical business. She needed also to come back several days a week and be there in the morning. And I felt for her to drive all the way back. This came up later in the whole scenario. Rather than drive all the way back to Oxnard, she needed a place to come back. And she had mentioned to me on the phone even, well, look, maybe we can work out that $2,500. I'll give you such and such amount of money per month if I can stay in your place so I don't have to drive all the way back to Oxnard.
Does that conversation sound familiar to you?
It's been a little convoluted. The fact was, we did discuss this, but we were not together at that point. He did not have a place for me to stay because he was not living there by himself. So in the meantime, we did actually split up. We were no longer seeing each other after May. He continued to say that he would pay me back.
Now, just a second. When did you lend him the money?
February the 10th. I have the check here.
Okay. And when did you have this conversation with him about perhaps using his apartment when you were coming into town, into the marina area?
Once his apartment would have become available. He was expecting after May or so to have no roommate.
Okay, so it was possibly in the future that you said that you would be amenable to working off this $2,500 by using his apartments a couple of days a week.
Correct.
But that never came to pass.
That never came to pass.
Does that sound familiar to you?
Most of it.
Good.
You know,
Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It was given to me as a gift, and I accepted it as a gift.
Why do you think I'd give you $2,500? Because I'm so rich?
Party's on Rigos versus Gomez. Step forward, please.
When 33-year-old Mary Louise Regos lost her mother, Carmen, Jose Gomez also lost his fiancée and love of his life. Today they are before Judge Judy, fighting over mementos of the woman they both loved.
Order, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 123 on the calendar in the matter of Rigos versus Gomez. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Don't cry yet. I haven't started. Okay, before we start, Miss Rigos, relax. Mr. Gomez, you were engaged to be married to Miss Rigos' mother. Is that
That's
right?
True, yes.
Lived together for a while?
Yes, we were.
And unfortunately,
About 4 years.
Unfortunately, she died very suddenly and at a young age. She was 52, according to your complaint. The plaintiff is her daughter, and she says that there's certain property of her mother's that she wants that's in your possession. Is that what this case is about?
Yes.
And $5,000, I understand. And $5,000?
Not in $5,000.
I'm not interested in the money, Your Honor.
No, she says she just wants the property back. That was her mother's. Ms. Rigos, I read Mr. Gomez's answer to your complaint. And I must tell you that based upon his answer, I haven't spoken to him yet, he seems like a very nice man.
I don't doubt that.
And my sense from reading his answer is that he loved your mother very much.
I did, very much, yes.
What are these things that you want of your mother's?
Well, in the beginning, it was mainly just, you know, certain momentums that been in the family a long time.
He gave you back most of the things, or many of the things that were your mother's.
He came over, he didn't give me personally, he came over to my brother's house a month and a half ago, and it was just a couple of boxes with her shoes, 2 bags of clothes, which is not even a hole in the closet with my mom, because she loved clothes. And old pictures that my mother had from when we were young in our old country in Europe and Michigan when we were growing up. That's it.
What's the old country?
In Malta.
So he gave you back the mementos, those photographs and things that were irreplaceable.
He gave me those, yes. Well, he gave them to my brother.
You're the brother.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. So tell me what things you want that are your mom's.
There's just certain other things, pictures.
Tell me. So tell me so that he'll know, and maybe we won't have a problem.
Well, my brother has 4 children. I have 2. And there's just certain things there that, you know, pictures, things that my kids bought, you know, their grandma, you know, for birthdays, Mother's Day.
Like what? Tell me. Because he has to know what things.
My mother was infatuated by clothes. She was a very short woman, and she loved clothes and shoes. That's what we bought her. We bought her lots of clothes, lots of shoes. Come birthday, Mother's Day, Christmas. There's certain things that my son has there that Jose has had there. It'll be 5 years this Christmas, which is a little Harley motorcycle that my sister-in-law bought my son. And my mother wanted to stay there for a couple months, and it lasted there all these years. And my son called him in April and asked him if he could get it. And there's just other things that are there that are mine. You know, my sewing machine, which he had brought over after he got served, you know.
So he brought you back the sewing machine?
The sewing machine. He didn't bring me the plug, so I have no use for it right now. But he just brought the sewing machine over after he got served. But he told my son in April, tell your mother that I sold her things to pay the bills. And I couldn't understand that. I couldn't even understand why he would tell a little 10-year-old that. You know, he has not gotten a hold of me, you know, and he won't talk to me. You know, I've tried talking with him. We had a great relationship, me, him, and my mother. Anytime there was problems with them, you know, I was there. I was the mediator.
Okay, Mr. Gomez.
Well, first of all, the reason why I didn't talk to her, she had an unlisted telephone number, so I couldn't get it. And she wouldn't give me the number, so I couldn't do that. And the only thing that I feel I'm guilty of is loving her mother. I love my Carmen tremendously. She loved me 10 times more than I loved her.
It says here in the papers that you lent her money to start a business?
Yes, I did.
Some kind of beauty?
It was a facial business. She wanted, see, as far as money's concerned, I had no problem with that, especially with her. When after a year that I met her, her mother died in Malta. She had no way to get there. So it was costing me about $2,000. I sent her over there because she was heartbroken. I mean, just here's her mother. She loved her mother dearly, and she had no way to get there.
So you gave her the money to
I
go?
gave her the money. I didn't ask for it back.
Okay.
And then when she came back, she asked me that, I told her to come back and we'll live together, and she asked me if I could help her start a business. I said, what's it going to be? So she told me. I said, fine. So I went up to, I borrowed the money from our savings. I said to her, we were going to get married, so I said, well, I'd like for you to pay it back, and I was also paying into it, paying 3 times more than she was in a month. And I said, because it's for our retirement. And she said, it's fine. This is all it's going to be for. That's why I wanted her to pay back while we could.
Was she working at the time, too?
She was doing, yes, a little bit. She was working somewhat. I never kept track of what she made or anything like that.
Okay. So
I have a log that says that she was paying me, too. She's paying, every month.
Towards the equipment?
For the equipment.
And you ultimately sold the equipment
I
according to
sold
your
it for what
papers
I
at a
could
loss?
get, which was, yes. When you sell things out of a garage, they don't give you anything for it. Found that out.
So how much did you lose,
About-
dollar-wise?
How much did I lose? About $3,000 or something.
That's what it said here, that the
Just on
equipment
that
was
one.
$6,000, you'd paid
After
about
I made that,
$3,000
yeah.
off. You have any reason to doubt that?
No, we didn't mess with it with my mother's equipment. We know that he had signed for it, but she was paying him every month.
Okay. And it also says here, Mr. Gomez, that you and the plaintiff and another brother split the cost for the funeral expenses.
That's
Is
true.
that right?
Yes, it is.
Is that true? You know, technically, by law, Mr. Gomez has no responsibility to contribute to those funeral expenses. You know that. I assume he did it because he loved your mother.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He never loved my mother. She was miserable because of his daughter. Okay? You didn't bring that fact up, and I'm tired of this bullshit.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jose Gomez was engaged to marry Ragos' mother, Carmen. They both loved her deeply, but are now in court fighting over who gets Carmen's personal mementos.
What I'm trying to tell you is, from his answer, it doesn't sound as if he's a bad guy. Would you agree with that, too?
I have an opinion, but I don't know if it counts. It's just that even though he put in his share into the business with my mom, she has done her part. Contribution towards the home that they lived in, contribution towards the business she built.
Well, just a second. What he's saying is he took out a loan for the equipment.
Yes, I understand that,
And
but
that
the loan came from her too.
I know, but so much of it hadn't been paid back that he's now responsible.
We haven't seen that. We don't know what that is.
I believe that that's true, sir. I believe that that's true. It's my job to determine whether somebody is a credible witness. Yes, sir.
One more question I have. If he would have, many times as I try to meet with him, breakfast, meetings and whatever, if he would have just brought out the paperwork, I didn't want him to go alone on this. The same way I accepted him to help me in the funeral, the same way I accepted his beliefs, what my mom wanted for her funeral. The same thing, I did everything for the picture when he took it out of my house on the evening when we had family in my house.
From my mother.
That is the only picture I had in front of the flowers to show the people that who she was. He had to take it the same night. It's just, and I was nice, I let him go with it. I mean, there was
You mean this was his photo? Just a second. This was his photograph of your mother.
This is mine.
Just a second. This was his photograph of your mother.
Yes, but it's our frame.
I know.
You weren't interested in the frame. You were interested
Actually,
in the photograph.
we are, Your Honor. We are. That's a momentum that's been going on through our family.
He'll give you back the frame if it's your frame. What you were upset about, what your brother says you were upset about, was the photograph. So you had the photograph
It's
displayed.
the way he did it, Your Honor.
Listen to me.
In
You had
front of
the
all my family.
You had the
Grabbed it by the hand and walked out like no respect. Didn't even come to ask me.
Let me tell you something, sir.
Don't you think I hurt too?
Well, I do. I do. I think that you all have to understand that when somebody dies, everybody feels sad. I thought about this a lot over the last 20 years, you know, whenever I've had family, friends, and in my own life. Losing somebody that you love very much, especially when they're very young. Parent, a mate. Anger is a much easier emotion to deal with than pain. I want you to think about that for a minute. It's much easier when somebody dies to be angry at somebody else than to get in touch with your own feeling and feel the pain and the loss, which is why after somebody dies, it's so often in families, they fight with each other over stupid things, a pair of shoes, a dress, because it's much easier when you, especially if your mom was 52 years old and she died totally unexpectedly, to be angry. You know, why did this happen? So you get angry at somebody. I think you look like lovely people. I think he's a lovely man who took on a responsibility even when he didn't have to. He clearly loved your mother, and he made her happy. He made her, I mean, they were going to get married, so he made her happy. So are you prepared to give them back the things that they want?
Yes, what the little motorcycles you can buy.
No, I have a
if
list
that's
here.
what happened,
I
then
want all
they
my
can
mother's
have that.
things.
Just a second. Well, let me have this. I'm not sure
I want
whether
everything she went in with. I mean, in the beginning, you know, I abide by his wishes. We all did. He said, give me a couple months. I don't want to part with your mother's things. We abide by it.
No, listen to me.
He wanted half of my mother's ashes, which is immoral.
Listen to me. You lived with her for 4 years?
Yes, I did.
No.
How long?
Approximately 4 years.
How long?
Lived together?
Yes.
A little over 2.5 years.
Okay, and you had a home together. Is that right?
Yes, we did.
You have things in your like kitchen, toaster oven, and a dinette set. Why would you think a white hutch from the dining room? Why
That hutch was my son's. And I feel that...
How could a hutch be your son's?
No, it was a desk. It was a brown desk with what it's called a hutch.
Yeah.
And my brother is a painter. He went over there. He made it look nice for her in her kitchen. He painted it white.
When was this?
This was just before she passed away.
No, he didn't go to her house. That was their home.
I went to her house to paint it.
Not her home, their home.
I see, I understand.
Yeah,
their home. They lived together.
I
They had a
understand.
home together. They were engaged. They were planning to be married.
Yes.
Stop with the nonsense, folks.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I loved her very, very much. And it's just,
What are you going to do when another woman comes into your life, Jose? You're going to leave the slippers
I'm
and the
not thinking
pantyhose on the
about that.
floor like you have been? That is stupid.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mary Rago says her late mother Carmen wanted her to keep her personal possessions after she died. But Carmen's fiancé, Jose Gomez, says he should get to keep some of the items.
You want to take out furniture from a home that your mother set up with this man? That's outrageous. He was not a bad person. He cared for her.
We didn't say he
I
was,
can
ma'am.
understand you saying to me, I want the things that belong to my mother, the photographs, my mother had perfume you have here. She had knickknacks in the hutch. I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is, sir? The
No.
knickknacks that are in the hutch?
no.
What knickknacks that are in the hutch?
China's a little plate, anything from that belongs to my mom. What's
It's
the
not
reason
worth
for him to
anything.
keep
It's
it?
just, it's you know, it's hers.
The
We
way
got
I
it for
feel,
her.
he's gonna go on with his life. He has no reason. He remembered my mom for 7 months so far. He has to continue with his life and go on with a new future.
Sir,
But we
this
have
is-
to remember what we have by holding what we got.
Fine. Sir, I'm going to tell you what I expect you to turn over to them. I've looked at this list. There are pictures and frames of grandchildren and family. I expect you to turn that over to them. Okay?
Yes.
You have those things?
I have the pictures, the frames that I paid for the frames, so I took them out of the frames.
You paid
I
for
have
the green
pic-
frames that are in the bedroom?
Yes, yes.
I bought those with my mother in Target.
There was a lot
Listen,
of green,
the
green
rainbow.
frames.
Listen
I'm
to
talking
me.
about the rainbow
Listen to me.
pictures.
The frames are
It's
not
only
important.
$3.
I
The
don't want the
frames are not
frames.
important.
They're not
The
important.
pictures
The
are
pictures.
important.
That's
You
right,
want
I
to
have
give
the
them back
pictures.
in the frames, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay? So that you're going to give back. Now, do you have this motorcycle, Mom?
I will give that back. I have it. The only reason why I'm keeping it is I thought that her mother gave it to me because at one time that on Christmas, we had a little spat. So she said, don't buy me anything for Christmas. And knowing her, she knew that I would not accept anything from her. So she said, I've got this motorcycle, it's Johnny's, and I'm going to leave it here. And I was under the impression that It's the only way she knew I was going to keep it. It was there.
Okay.
Now, if
You're
it's
gonna-
not for me, then I do not want it.
Fine.
period.
Then I want you to give it back to them. That's
Wonderful.
Listen. These knickknacks in the hutch that she's talking about, you know, these little plates and dishes and things that she brought into your relationship. Do you know what they are?
I don't really. It's been a while, and I'm not sure as to which. You know, what
I
they're
want you to
talking
look
about.
through it.
I'll look
Whatever,
through 'em.
whatever you see there, pack up nicely that belongs, that she had, that were from her history. I
Right.
want you to pack up and see to it that her children get. Will
We'll
you do that?
I'll do that.
Did you bring any of these things with you to court, sir?
Yes, I did. I brought.
Okay. Did you bring the clothes and other things?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and they're all here.
Yes, they're. I left
Okay.
them there someplace.
And you're prepared to
I
take them?
brought back more pictures too.
And you're prepared to take
large
them today?
plots of that.
Okay. So this is not a very difficult case. It's going to give you back those things.
What about my dish set? I want my dish set and my plug to my sewing machine.
It's in the box.
The dish set is?
I didn't know it was there. I saw it and I said, "Oh, this goes to the sewing machine."
Ms. Rigos, you still sound very angry.
I am.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I don't think that you should be angry. I really don't. I mean, your mother stayed in this relationship. You may have thought it wasn't perfect. I don't know whether you thought it was perfect or it wasn't perfect. But she was a 52-year-old young lady who may have visited with her children, but her day-to-day life was with this man.
And that's what she said.
For better, for worse, they were a couple. And you should be happy that your mother, from the time she was 48 or whatever she was, I don't know, was she divorced from your father or did he pass away?
Divorced, long time
21
ago.
years.
21 years divorced until she met him?
Yes.
Well, there was
He
others.
sounds like a nice guy to me.
I have no...
So I don't know, Ms. Rigos, why you're angry, unless it's what I'm thinking and what I said to you before, that anger is a much easier emotion to deal with than pain. She didn't have a love in her life for 21 years. She met this man. They started a business together. They planned a wedding. Well, he helped her with a business. They planned a wedding. They planned to get married. So that your mother must have felt at least she had a companion of her own. Stop being so angry. Get in touch with your own feelings. If it's sadness, get over it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You return the things to her, sir?
Yes, I will.
You sound like a nice guy. She wants the picture frame.
The only thing I would like to keep this, but, and as I told Mario that this is what she gave me. She had this on the back of it. She says, "I gave you this picture."
Who?
You can keep the picture.
Carmen.
Oh, let me see
She
that.
gave me, when
Just a minute. You mean Carmen gave you that picture in the frame?
she gave me this whole thing. And the way I see it, I don't see it as a frame. I see it just as a
Just a
picture,
second.
whatever. She had that on there, and she just
a
says, "I give
second.
it that."
Just a minute.
It was stuck in the back of here.
Just a second.
That's the way she writes. She's
Am
only
I
had a
correct?
5th grade education. That's
Am
all.
I correct? He didn't bring over this picture when your mother died. He brought over the whole thing, the picture with the frame.
Yes.
He
For the
brought that
funeral,
over.
yes, he brought it
He
over.
That's
brought
what I
that
took
over.
over there, exactly.
That's his, not yours.
That's mine.
That's his. And you keep it, sir.
Thank you very much.
You got to get over your anger.
This means very,
Pretty lady.
very, very much to me.
Pretty lady. Okay.
Thank you.
Give them back their things. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. See you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I have 2 little blouses that really remind me of her, and I have a pair of shoes that slippers that she took off, and I never touched them yet. I just leave them there. I love her very, very much. And it's just.
What are you going to do when another woman comes into your life, Jose? You're going to leave the slippers and the
not thinking
pantyhose on the
about that.
floor like you have been? That is stupid.
What if I die
Stupid.
before a woman comes to my life?
You are so stupid.
Can I see the note?
I want to see that note my mother
I want
left
to see
you.
the note of her.
Maria, you got nothing to do with this. I saw you twice in the 4 years, okay?
Where's
So
the
stay
note? I
out of
wanna see
it.
the note for this.
Stay out of it.
Why did you have never showed me the note when I told you about this?
That's right, I'm angry. I'm angry. Yes, I am angry. He never loved my mother. She was miserable because of his daughter. Okay? You didn't bring that fact up, and I'm tired of this. You had the nerve to bring your daughter to my mother's funeral. That was uncalled for. Uncalled for, Jose.
Is on Apolinaro versus Madison. Step forward, please.
Amante and Emma Apolinario are suing their tenant, 34-year-old Marissa Madison, claiming Marissa stole 2 pieces of Tupperware and her son ruined their computer.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 134 on the calendar in the matter of Apolinario versus Madison. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated. Have a seat.
You folks rented a room in your home to the defendant, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
And your complaint alleges that her little boy broke a computer?
That's right.
There's a very short piece about the computer in your complaint. And a very long piece about a piece of Tupperware that she took.
Here they are.
So, it says that you rented one of your master bedrooms in your home. Why did you decide to do that?
For extra money, Your Honor.
Did you put an ad in the paper?
Yes, we put it in the ad in the papers.
And she responded to the ad?
She responded to the ad, and she seems to be a nice person. And on the first day, she told us, it looks like that she already knew us. She tell us a lot of stories about her problems, even the first meeting. So we
So you
thought she's a
decided
nice
to rent her a
person,
room?
That's right.
And you were living there with your son?
I was.
How old is your son?
He was 4.5. And when I responded to the ad, I talked to them. I wanted to meet them and see if I can trust them and everything like that. And they lied to me. They told me that they only have 3 kids and a niece that living in that house. And then I found out when I was already living there were like 11 people with 2 sisters and 2 children of each.
So why didn't you move out?
I moved out because...
No, why didn't you immediately when you found out that there were so many people there? If that bothered you, why didn't you leave?
Right. I was in the middle of job change. And it was so many furnitures. I have a lot of things in the storage and a lot of stuff that I have to move. And it was a hassle because I got a new job nearby to that house in that city. So I thought that I can have a good relationship with them.
Fine. So it didn't make any difference to you that there were so many people living there?
Right.
You stayed there?
I did.
All right. Now let's get to the broken computer. This is not a big deal. You had a son. How old is he?
He was 4.5.
You say he broke your computer.
Yes, Your Honor.
Who saw him do that?
I got a witness, my daughter, who was inside the room at that time.
How old are you?
8.
8? What is your name?
Angeline.
Angelina? Come up here. Have a seat. Can you get up there? Sure you can. Hi.
Hi.
Did you go to school?
Yeah.
I have a few questions to ask you, okay? Because you're only 8 years old, so I have to find out whether I can swear you to take an oath in court. You're very pretty. Are you nervous?
No.
Don't be. What grade are you in school?
Second, but I'm gonna be in 3rd.
Do you have a best friend in school?
Yeah.
Did you ever tell a fib?
No.
A lie?
No.
Did you ever tell a lie to your folks? To your mom, to your dad? Even a little one?
No.
Not even a little one?
Yeah.
When you told a little lie to your mom and dad, did you get punished?
Yeah.
Now, if I were to tell you that this was a duck, would that be the truth or a lie?
Lie.
Because it's what?
About that.
Now, Angelina, if I were to tell you that the judge, that's me, right, is a young, beautiful woman, would that be the truth or a lie?
Truth.
Yes! Very smart little girl. Very smart little girl. Okay. Could you do me a favor, and I'm going to let you sit there. Can you raise your right hand? You know your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know this lady's little boy?
Yeah.
What's his name?
DJ.
Did you see him do anything to the computer?
Yeah.
What did you see him do?
He put the disk in the computer.
And did something happen to the computer after he did that?
Yeah, it broke.
How do you know it broke, Angelina?
Well, I didn't really check it, but my brother told me it was broken.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Listen to me. You're
Your
not
Honor,
going to waste my
excuse me,
time
yeah.
with
I got a
Tupperware that's
witness.
worth $3.
Not even. So my cost, it's only $1.65.
And later today,
All she could do was stand there and let him abuse me after 8 years of friendship.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marissa Madizon, a 34-year-old travel agent, says she should not be responsible for damage that Amante and Emma Apolinario say her son caused to their computer.
Now, did you have a discussion with the defendant about this computer?
Yes, Your Honor, and many times she agreed to repair it. She even called her friend to look at it. And all I was
Did you do
thinking,
that? Yes, I tried, but I told them that I cannot accept it. But they are all over me and telling me that my son is the youngest, that he's the only one capable of destroying that computer.
Yes, go ahead.
She's a liar.
No.
She keeps on promising us, especially me. She told me before, after she moved out, after June 15, she went back to my house. And she said, I asked her, where is the parts that you want to buy for our computer? She said, oh, I already ordered it. I already ordered it,
Did you
and it's
tell her
my
that?
mind. That's
Did
my
you tell her
responsibility.
that you had already
That's
ordered
what
the
she said
parts?
to me.
Shh. Did you tell? Listen to me. Did you tell her that you had ordered the parts for the computer?
I said I will order it.
Okay. Well, then you agreed to pay for it. How much were the parts?
It's $100 something.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I thought that the CD-ROM was the only defective, but it wasn't the CD-ROM that was defective.
Sir, you didn't pay all that much money for the whole computer.
I did.
No, you didn't.
What happened is, when they told me that the computer is broken, the computer is all over, I mean, it's torn apart.
Bottom line is you agreed to pay for the parts.
This is what I
Period.
said.
You agreed to pay for the parts. Now, how much were the parts that you agreed to pay for?
It's $125.
Okay. Next, what's about this Tupperware? Tell me about the Tupperware.
Can I just say something before
No,
that?
tell me about the Tupperware.
Okay.
I'm getting frustrated.
Wesley went on June 15. It was June 15. Yeah.
June 15, she left the house, and then she went back. She left Sunday. She went back Wednesday, and me and my husband and my kids are there, supposed to be leaving, going to church. And she went by, and then
Give me
she
the
said,
Tupperware,
okay,
please.
the Tupperware. She's asking me about the Tupperware. I saw it in the garage. I told her, I never see any Tupperware of yours. What I know is...
What is in the bag, madam?
This is what happened. Before I left on Sunday...
Is that the Tupperware that,
yes, it
that
is.
you're wasting my time about? Could I
Yes.
see it, please?
Here.
Yeah, it's funny.
Just a second. Whose Tupperware is that?
Mine.
Both items?
Yes. And I have more other parts that were stolen from their garage.
That's all I'm hearing.
That's why I wanted to tell you the story. Before I left, I asked her permission if I can leave my boxes because I didn't have any more room in my car, that
Just
I
a
can
second.
pick them up.
Which, not interested in that. Which of these two items do you say is yours?
All of those are mine. I have a receipt here that I have lots of Tupperware in my house.
She bought my Tupperwares. I'm a dealer for less cost. Less
Your-
cost of what I bought of my Tupperware, she bought.
Oh, you're not going to listen to me. You're
Your
not
Honor,
going to waste my
excuse me,
time
Your
with
Honor. I got a
Tupperware that's worth $3.
I know, that's right.
Not even. Not
What?
even. It's my cost. It's only $1.65.
Fine. Would you give? You giving it to her? Perfect. We've resolved the Tupperware.
I have plenty. She bought all my
Stop.
Tupperwares.
We've just resolved the
I'm a dealer.
Tupperware.
Can I say something?
About what?
She come to my house and she got the Tupperware without my knowledge. Without
I
her
told her
knowledge.
needs.
I'm the owner of the house.
Listen to me. Wow.
She admitted.
I couldn't believe when I read this complaint that there were 2 lines about a broken computer and 20 lines about Tupperware. I couldn't understand that. I still don't understand.
Because
That must
we
be
have a witness,
very
Your
valuable Tupperware.
Well,
you
Your-
now
Your
have it
Honor-
back. Quiet. Look, you have to pay them $125. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Pinkham versus Crawford. Step forward, please.
26-year-old waitress Catherine Pinkham is suing her former friend and roommate, Chandra Crawford. Catherine claims she was kicked out of their apartment after getting into a fight with Chandra's fiancé.
Okay, you two ladies were long-term friends, I gather. And there came a time when you were living in different parts of the country, but you decided to move to California, correct? Yes. And you decided to live together, made arrangements to live together, you were looking for the right kind of place, and you were moving to sunny
California.
Right. But in the meantime, you found a boyfriend.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
So instead of being the two of you, it was going to be 3. You should have known right then and there. 2's company.
3's a crowd.
So why don't you tell me what happened and what you're suing her for?
Okay, well, I spent over $3,000 just in moving expenses, moving cross country. That is not what I'm suing her for. Basically, it's we made arrangements. We started about 1.5 years ago that we're going to live together as soon as I finish school. I received my degree. I moved cross country. I was in the house from September 8th until the 21st of the month. That night, I realized that, well, actually, I realized little things here and there over a period of time that her boyfriend and I did not get along. I didn't like the way he was treating her.
What was wrong with the way he was treating her?
He tells her what to wear. She waits on him hand and foot. She pays all the bills for him. He has no job. He drives around in her car all day, sits on his butt and watches video games. And I just didn't like the way I ended up paying, like, I was supposed to originally pay 1/3 of the security and 1/3 of the rent. All of a sudden, before I was moving out, oh, can you pay half the security and half the rent? And I'm like, well, what about timeshare? Well, his job didn't come through yet, and da-da-da-da. And basically, I want you to pay half, and then we'll reimburse you. Well,
so did you do that?
I paid half and half, and I have receipts right here.
How much did you pay altogether?
$13.50, and I have all the receipts with her name.
Okay.
And then I agreed to do it as long as he paid me his share back. I never saw the money. And I'm like, I was there for 2 weeks. There were squabbles here and there. They tried to throw me out after 3 days because he disliked my sister. So they didn't like my friend that came out with me that was also helping me in the move. So he decided, because he didn't like my sister and didn't like my friend, he wanted me out. So he tried to throw me out after 3 days, and I stood my ground and I said, listen, you know, I've invested all this money into this place. The last thing I want to do is leave right now. I mean, it was just a big mess. Well, after he barely ever maybe said 2 or 3 words to me at a time.
What happened at the end of September when you left?
What happened the night is I wasn't feeling well one day. We were watching TV. I mentioned there was a commercial on for a pesto crust pizza. I mentioned that I disliked pizza because I was living on the East Coast and that I prefer the pizza on the East Coast better and that I don't recommend eating it. He got up, stormed out of the room, and slammed the door. So I was just sitting there going, okay, what just happened? She came in the room 5 minutes later, Chandra did, and said, you've been bitching all day, da-da-da-da, about all kinds of things, and, you know, I can tell you don't feel well, and, you know, and I said, listen, Chandra, I said, I'm going to find my own place. It's just not working out because he's just not being very nice to me, and I've made efforts to be nice to him, and it's not working.
Okay, so?
So she went outside and told him that I thought it would be best that I moved out. He wouldn't come into the house, so when she came into the house, I kind of said, well, I don't feel well, but I'm going to go out and run some errands so he can come into the house, and you guys can talk, and I'll come back in a bit. I leave, I come back, I see him tearing down the street in her Jeep. I pull up to the house, she comes outside of the house shaking her head, going, you can't be here in 5 minutes. He said it was either you or him. And I said, you chose him? She goes, yes. And I said, well, can I go into the house and get some of my things? As I was in there, he came back. He was calling me pretty much every profane word you can think of, being very, very rude, getting in my face, threatening me, overpowering me, and, you know, and
so you left that night?
I left that night with nowhere to go.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I wouldn't pour water on her. She was standing next to me on fire.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Catherine Pinkham is suing her former friend and roommate, Chandra Crawford, because Chandra and her fiancé kicked her out of their apartment. Chandra and Tom say Catherine violated the terms of the lease.
All right, so far I have $1,350 for security deposit. What else are you suing for? Because
Okay.
the total lawsuit is $1,700.
Okay, I'm also suing for moving expenses for the truck that I had to rent the second day when I went back to get my things.
How much was that?
That's $153.
Mm-hmm.
And then another $153
For what?
storage.
What storage?
I had to get a
for what?
storage unit to put my things in. I was afraid they were going to be trashed, so I went back the following day with the police to get my things.
All right, Miss Crawford, first of all, where is Dream Boy?
Your Honor,
Where is he?
he's at work.
Got a job?
Yes, ma'am.
When did he get a job?
He was employed the day after she left. She left on a Sunday. He went to work that Monday.
Did he send her any money?
The arrangements to pay her back was between her and I.
So did you send her any money?
I tried to contact her, Your Honor. She never returned my phone calls. She never, after September 29th was the last time I spoke to her on the phone when she called me at work. I said, call me next week, I will make arrangements. She never bothered calling me back. She never left me a forwarding address. I tried on 3 separate occasions.
Did you feel badly about it?
Yeah, I felt horrible. We were best friends for 8 years. I mean, honestly, I really did not know this was going to happen.
But let me ask you this question. Tom clearly, when she was living there, was not employed and was home a good deal of the time, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How long was it that he wasn't employed full-time, that you were supporting him?
Your Honor, I wasn't supporting him.
Who
but
was?
He had part-time work.
Not when
and
she
it was
was
about
there.
3 months total.
So it was
but
about
I was
3
not
months.
supporting him. He was drawing off his savings.
So he had savings?
Yeah.
So why didn't he put in the money for his share of the security deposit from his savings instead of asking a stranger for it?
I asked her for it, Your Honor, because we were friends.
But that's not fair. If you have a boyfriend who's got savings, why should you ask her to dip into her meager savings to pay for him? Did you know that Tom had savings?
I did not know that.
Did Tom know that you asked her for money?
Yes, ma'am, he did.
How old is he?
26.
Does he have children?
Yes, ma'am, he does.
How many?
2.
How did I know that? Do you have children?
No, I don't.
How old are you?
28.
Mm-hmm. Where are Tom's children?
His wife and he have joint custody. They're with their mother most of the time.
Was he sending support for his children?
Yes, he was.
When he wasn't working?
Yes, he was. He was drawing it out of his savings.
I don't believe that. Miss Crawford, how long have you been with Tom?
About 6 months.
Keep your eyes open.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
All right, there is no question. I believe her that you threw her out of the house. According to your own answer, you pretty much say, I had to make a choice. Tom or her. I mean, you go through a lot of things here when you say, well, she didn't follow the rules and everything else. But I think that you know that you owe her this money. It's clear to me that your boyfriend clearly didn't like sharing his home with someone who was disapproving of the way he was behaving, especially the way he was treating you. You probably did things that irritated Tom, and that he's had a sense from the way you were acting that you were disapproving. So I can understand him not particularly liking you.
So can I.
But you can't throw her out of the house. You made that choice, so now you got to pay her. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount requested in the complaint, which is $1,782. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The night they threw me out, she let him call me every name in the book, treat me like a total and all she could do was stand there and let him abuse me after 8 years of friendship. She totally destroyed it. It made me feel horrible. It breaks my heart, but as far as I'm concerned, you know, it's over, and I don't care to ever see her again.
I wouldn't pour water on her. She was standing next to me on fire.
Parties on Lake versus McConnell. All parties on Lake versus McConnell. Step forward, please.
46-year-old Donald Lake is suing 25-year-old supermarket checker Shannon McConnell, claiming she gave him the wrong change. Shannon says Lake was rude, and he got his money.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. All rise. Now, this is number 62 on the calendar in the matter of Lake versus McConnell. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Lake, I am baffled by your lawsuit, so I am hoping, sir, that you are going to be able to explain to me why you believe that this young lady should give you $2,500.
As a consumer in a very aggressive area, retail grocery, as a consumer there where...
Why don't you tell me the story, sir?
The story is...
Yes, tell me about the lawsuit.
The lawsuit itself
Put your papers down, put your briefcase down, and just relax and tell me the story.
The story, which I have the physical evidence here, is that as a consumer, on Christmas Eve of last year, I entered with a companion at a certain grocery store in the San Diego County area. With that, and with my companion, we went through the cash-only line. My companion went first. She bought a couple of items. She was waiting right there on Christmas Eve for me to go through. Body language that she was ready to go, keys in her hand, tapping her foot. It was a very rush type of thing. I come in with one item in the cash line. I go ahead and confront the cashier with...
That's this young lady
yes,
here.
Yes, ma'am. A person now, who I now know the first and last name of. At that time, she was wearing a name tag with just her first name and last initial. At that time, right here on the receipt...
You gave her your item. What did you buy, sir?
I bought one bottle of champagne.
Okay, you bought a bottle of champagne, and you gave her money.
Not only did I give her money, but before I gave her money, I said, I have two $20 bills and a 50.
Well, why would you say
Shut up!
Pardon me.
You gave her two $20 bills and a 50. And how much was the champagne?
You can see the attitude of the store.
Hey, just a second. Mr. Lake, answer my questions,
yes,
please.
ma'am.
How much was the bottle of champagne, sir?
The bottle of champagne with the tax and everything else came out to $4.30. I asked Ms. McConnell, can you break a 50? I told her I have two 20s and a 50. She said yes. I handed her a $50 bill, a quarter, and a nickel, $50.30 for $4.30 purchase.
So what happened? Come on, speed
What
up the
happened
story.
was, with my companion waiting to go, rushing off for...
I heard the companion. What happened with the money and the champagne? Come on.
The money in the champagne is, I got the champagne, but I didn't get all the money.
Okay, so you say that she shortchanged you in the change, is that right?
She went ahead and counted out $50 in cash as a count back. I grabbed it and the receipt, stuffed it in my pocket, and left. Very soon after, in the same part of town, I had another cash transaction. I got out my cash. The receipt read clearly, cash tended, $40.30.
Okay.
I went back within half an hour of making my purchase. I confronted her and I said, have you taken in any $50 bills recently? And she said, no. This is within minutes after the transaction.
Okay, so what happened? Come on.
What happened was that talking to various store officials, including one Dean Honda, and
You talked to people at the store.
Yes, ma'am.
And did you get your $10 back?
I got the $10 back after a lot of arguing, and I also got the corporate phone up here in LA County.
Mr. Lake, so you went in, you gave her money, you realized sometime later when you were making a purchase that she had given you, according to you, $10 less in change than you should have gotten. So
Yes.
far as that, make it fast?
Yes.
You went back to the store. At first, they didn't think that they had made a mistake, but ultimately that evening, they gave you the $10, correct?
After a lot of arguing, yes.
So you had a lot of arguing, whatever. That evening, they gave you back the $10.
That's correct.
So why are we here?
On principle. She still has her job. She has not, to the best of my knowledge, been reprimanded, and the store has tolerated outright theft. This is not my opinion. This is physical evidence. They tolerated outright theft. It's not my fault that she wanted some kind of a Christmas bonus on her own as an individual employee in an industry that from the top constantly cheats consumers through price fixing, that store managers constantly take items off of sale on their computers. We have, in addition to that, employees working on their own, taking money out of my pocket. The principle of the thing is we have theft, we have denial of the theft, and we have zero cooperation from the corporation.
Okay. Now, I have a couple of questions to ask you.
Yes, ma'am.
How many lawsuits have you filed with regard to this particular incident?
One.
And this is the only one?
Yes, ma'am.
Never filed any lawsuits against her because she has a counterclaim against you for a variety of things, including abusive process, which is really the basis of your lawsuit, although you don't couch it in that language. She says that you've sued her at various times, and she'll tell me about that. You've also slandered her, which you did right now. You said she was a thief.
And I stand by that.
May cost you money, Mr. Lake. You understand that?
I stand
because
by
now
it.
I'm going to ask you some questions. Then I'll get to you. Okay, fine. It was Christmas Eve.
Yes, ma'am.
Store was busy,
Relatively so, yes.
and there were a lot of people online waiting, which is why you went to the cash line?
No, it was well staffed. They had a fair amount of employees waiting on people, so it was busy, but it wasn't real crowded, or there was not a long line.
And you came to her, and what you said to her was, I have two 40s or a $50 bill. Two 20s or a $50 bill.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, why would you say you had two 20s if the whole champagne was only $4?
I wanted to know, in the cash line,
Yeah.
you know, I went through the cash line because I had one item in cash.
No, Mr. Lake, you're not following me, sir. If I had a 20 and a 50 and I was buying a $4 item, I might say, can you cash a 50? I have a 50 or a 20. Can you cash a 50? You told me that you said to her, I have two 20s and a 50.
Because I had just pulled it out and I was looking at it and communicating right off the cuff at that moment.
So what you did, what you're saying to me, Mr. Lake, is, since you must agree with me that that was sort of a silly thing to say, I have two 20s to pay for a $4 item or a 50. I mean, that was kind of ridiculous, right? Mr. Lake, is that kind of ridiculous to say I have two 20s to pay for a $4 item or I have a $50 bill?
That's the items that I pulled out. That's the cash I had on hand.
Well, who cares what cash you had? What if you had a $1,000 bill? She doesn't care what cash you had on hand. You had a 20 and a 50. You could have paid with either one.
I had a couple
So
of
can you
20s.
say, did you ever say I made a mistake? Did you ever say that in your life?
Often.
Very good. Well, so you made a mistake. You should have said, I just have a 20 and a 50. Can you cash the 50?
Well, if I had more time, if it wasn't a rush situation, maybe I would have.
Now we're getting there, Mr. Lake.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Do I look like I need help?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Shannon McConnell, a supermarket cashier, disputes Donald Lake's accusations that he was shortchanged.
So you made a mistake because it was rushed, because you were taking out your money fast, because you had somebody waiting for you, and there were a lot of people behind you waiting to get checked out. So you made a mistake. Why wouldn't you give this young lady, and I haven't heard from her yet, the benefit of the doubt? Why do you ascribe to her malevolence, criminal activity, when it could have been an honest mistake?
That's a very good question.
I'm waiting for your very good answer. Now you're taking time to think about it, Mr. Lake, because you're going to think about a good response to me.
I can tell you right now, two good responses.
Yes.
Response number one, she counted back $50, not 40, in her count back. Number two, a few minutes later, she denies ever having the $50 bill in the first place.
Okay,
Had she said right then and there, oh, you know, if she'd apologized, if she would have helped me confer with the manager. I mean, up until I got the money back that night, she was fighting the manager. If she would have admitted her mistake, that would have been fine.
Mr. Lake, you don't think as a consumer you made a mistake by taking the money when she counted out the money and not looking at it? Not saying, I gave her a $50 bill, let me just check my change, instead of taking your change and just putting it in your pocket. Don't you have any responsibility to do that right at that moment?
Whatever responsibility I had with that, I took care of it as soon as possible.
No, you didn't. If you had taken care of it immediately while you were right there, you would have said, look, the bill right there on top, that 50 is mine. Instead, you walk out of the store after she counted out your money. Then you come back a half hour later after you've made another purchase someplace else and say, now, Christmas Eve, I want you to remember that I gave you a $50 bill. Hold it. Go.
From the beginning?
Well, if there's anything that he's left out from the beginning, I'd like to hear you.
Okay, when we went to the cash line, it was extremely busy.
How long have you been working at this store?
Since 1985. Well, not this particular store, for the company since 85. After I checked him out, I went on a 10-minute break. After I came back from the break, I went to another register. So when he approached me, he didn't ask me in a calm manner. He came up screaming a 20, a 10, and a 5, and a 1, saying that that's a change I gave him. Asked if he'd taken any 50s lately, being that I had just returned from a break, maybe 10, 15 minutes. I was on a new register where his 50 would have been on the old register, so I didn't recognize him from the prior exchange, because they had been so busy. I had hundreds of customers that day. I didn't recognize him, so I thought the only thing that came to mind was maybe he was wanting a nice, clean $50 bill to give as a gift. So I was saying, I don't think so, but I can check. And as I'm saying, I can check to see if there's one in the drawer. That's when he started going, there's 20, a 10, and a 5, and a 1. And then at that point, the manager came over to see what the commotion was about. The manager did not argue. I did not argue because I didn't know what it was about. The manager took the receipt, said, you were short at $10. He said yes. He took him over to the courtesy desk. At that time, he just gave him the $10, no questions asked, really. It was a matter of minutes till he got his $10 back. And at that point, Mr. Lake took the $10, waving in the air, screaming, don't go through Shannon's line. She has my money. She'll take your money. Did you do that, sir?
Not all of those things.
Yes, sir.
I did some of them.
Ma'am, this is Jackie here.
Were you there that evening?
Yes, when her and I came back from our breaks, just coincidentally at about the same time, she opened up on the register right next to me, and the way our register is set up is her customers' backs are to me, and my back is to them. Okay, so I heard a 20, a 10, real loud, and I turned around, stopped checking, turned around, and looked at Shannon, and then he goes up to the service desk with the manager and gets his $10. He has it in his hand, waving it. She stole my money. I mean, Christmas Eve is the second busiest day of the year. I've been working there for 22 years. I've never seen anything like this before in my life, the whole time. And he was waving the $10, saying she stole it. The customers eventually, he was there for probably 5 to 7 minutes, yelling and carrying on in front of the store. So all of her fellow employees heard every check stand was open. All the customers were, it was very busy. Him saying it wasn't that busy, relatively. Anyway, so the customers finally started saying, we don't want you here. Go back to where you came from. We like our store. We like Shannon. And he left. That's how it was. I saw the whole thing. I stopped checking to watch it because I've never seen anything like it.
Shannon, how many times have you been to court with regard to this case?
This is my third time.
Tell me about the first 2 times.
The first time I went,
You were served with a summons?
Yes. I went.
What was he suing for that?
The first time was criminal and commercial theft, deceit, and fraud. That was the first one. I went there, and Mr. Lake failed to appear. I thought that was the end of it. I thought maybe he realized that this was a ridiculous case, and that was it.
Which court did you go to?
San Diego, Claremont.
Does that sound familiar to you, sir, that you filed a case there?
Yes, it did, and she was not serviced.
Just a second.
There was no service done.
I was there when he served the papers, and you did serve her, and you stood behind her and watched her check for about 10 minutes after you served her. You served her personally.
And
I stood
Just
there
a second.
watched you because
Just a
I knew
second.
you were.
And did you serve her?
No, I cannot serve. Service
Exactly.
must be done.
Just listen to me. Just a second. You served her. You gave her the papers.
Yes, I did, and that is not service. Service must be a third party.
So why did you serve me?
Hey, do I look like I need help? Do I look like I need help?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're really ticking me off, sir. You're really ticking me off, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Donald Lake, the former educator, wants supermarket checker Shannon McConnell to pay for his trouble when he claims he was shortchanged at her supermarket.
Mr. Lake, so let me understand this, sir. You did, in fact, give her papers with regard to this first suit that she's talking about. But
Yes, I did.
and what you're saying is that it's a question of semantics, because since you, as a party, cannot serve her, a third party must serve her. It was invalid service, and therefore she was not served.
Also, ma'am.
Am I right?
That's correct.
Good. Now,
And?
say nothing. You're really ticking me off, sir. You're really ticking me off, sir. So you didn't appear in that action because you say she wasn't served. Is that correct?
That's partially correct.
Did you appear in that action?
No, I did not.
Then I'm correct.
You're partially correct.
I'm always correct, sir. The question is, she went to court because she was given papers. She's not a lawyer. She doesn't know that if a third person doesn't serve, it's not considered good service, so she didn't want to be in default. She went to court, and you didn't.
Also, the paperwork was given to Shannon M. I was trying to find out her last name so that she could be serviced correctly.
All right, so now we have one lawsuit that you filed that you didn't follow through with, and she went. When was the next lawsuit?
The next one was 2 months later. We went again, and at that point, we found out that not only did he have my court case, he had 2 other cases in the courtroom next door. Obviously can't be in 2 courtrooms at one time, so he denied having the pro tem hear our case. So perhaps you could go to the other cases. So
Let me understand this so that I make it simple. When you showed up in court on the next court date after you were properly served, I assume, Mr. Lake, you had 3 actions pending on the same day. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And you had to choose which case you would hear that day because you couldn't be in 2 courtrooms at the same time. So you said, I don't want a lay judge to hear my case. In her case, adjourn it to another day. Is that what happened?
No, ma'am.
Then let me hear.
I said I don't want a lay judge, a person who is not culpable to the Performance Review Board on any of my cases. That is a constitutional right.
And this is the 3rd case, is
Yes,
that
ma'am.
correct? Are you ready?
I think so.
Are you ready?
Judge Judy is ready to rule. Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Mr. Lake, in the year and a half that I've been handling cases in this court, I have never imposed the judicial sanction of fines for abusive process, fines that have been paid to the court for wasting court time. Now, I am dismissing your lawsuit because your lawsuit is frivolous. And not only is it frivolous, but this is the 3rd time that you have abused the people of this state by taking up judicial time and manpower in filing it. There is no question that there was, based upon what I've heard, an honest mistake. You, sir, are a suer, which means you like to sue people. And maybe you get off on that, but I'm telling you right now that the judicial system in this country will not tolerate those people who abuse it, because if you abuse it, people who have a real case can't get court time because the courts are clogged with this kind of frivolous nonsense. Now, say nothing, Mr. Lake. You already said too much. Now, with regard to this lawsuit, her counterclaim, I'm awarding you. You are asking for $1,400. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
And I'm also going to exercise my discretion and award you $2,500.
Wow.
All right? And I am imposing sanctions, Mr. Lake, costs upon you that are to be paid to the court in the amount of $500 because you have abused me, and I resent it. Not only have you abused her, but I resent the fact that you have abused the court system. That's all.
Step out. I'm back here to your right.
And on the next Judge Judy.
I knew I would win, but I didn't know that she would feel so strongly as to his abuse in the system.
My reaction is that for a law degree, for a person who has been a judge and everything, she doesn't know much about the Constitution of the United States. As far as being cheated by the employee, what do I have to do? Do I have to go around with a camcorder on my head when I want to buy something? I think I need to go off and buy another glass of, another bottle of champagne at a different grocery store.
Kime versus McKay. Step forward, please.
Professional singer Jeanette Kime paid $8,000 to record producer Dan McKay, but never received her demo tape. He says he hasn't got it, so she wants her money back.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the court. All rise. Judge, this is number 13 on the calendar in the matter of Kime versus McKay. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Kime, according to this, you're a singer, you have a band.
Yes.
You entered into an agreement, excuse me, with the defendant to produce some records for you, some songs,
That's
some
true.
of your songs. And you are, sir, a record producer,
Yes.
Mr. McKay. You went to his studio.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what happened.
Well, we met last summer through a mutual friend, and I heard some of his work. He was a really good producer. And so my band, when I discussed recording with him, we decided to record 4 songs together at $2,000 per song, including additional instrumentation besides my band and the production. So I paid him a total of $8,000.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And we recorded from the 10th through the 15th of August of 1996. It was sounding great, and at the end of the sessions on the 15th, I left the master tape with him. He was supposed to mix the tape. It was supposed to take 1 week. I had people waiting on this. I had like record companies that like have since think that I'm like insane for not having given them anything. And I called him about 5 days after we were done recording. Within that week, he said, give him an extra couple of give him an extra couple of days, which I did, and then I called him back. When I called him back, when he told me to call him back, he was out of town.
Which was when?
He told me to call him back, he said in a couple of days, so I called him back in 2 or 3 days after that, and he was out of town. And then I called him and called him and called him and called him, and he left a message on my machine saying, come down and pick up the tapes. So I was like, okay, finally they're done. So then...
What was the date of that telephone message?
I don't remember the exact date. It had to be within probably a few weeks maybe after the tapes were supposed to be done. And so I tried calling him back to pick up the tapes like he said, and I could never get in touch with him. And then after that, it was like, it was just impossible to like pin him down. Okay, I'm coming down now. It was, oh, I'm leaving right now. I'm going out of town. I have to find the tapes, this and that. I'm very busy. And so I never got them. And frankly, Judge Judy, I don't think he even has the tapes anymore. I've heard rumors that he was
Don't tell me rumors. All right, Mr. McKay, you have her $8,000 and you have her tapes.
Well, she's right. I don't have her tapes anymore because I attempted. I mean, her version is that she called me all these times, but I attempted to call. I mean, I attempted to get in touch with her. I called her.
Judge, let's hear dates. She finished taping on the 15th of August.
On the 15th.
And did you do what you were supposed to do with the tapes?
Yes. Yes.
What
the
were you
tapes were
supposed
ready.
to do?
Mix them. She's finished recording.
Mixed, just for my purposes. I think I know what that means. You push a lot of
You blend
buttons.
everything together and make it sound like a record.
Okay.
You know, that kind of thing. But she.
So the 15th she was finished, and you finished mixing them when?
About 5 days later. But she had already called me like 2 or 3 times before I had even finished it. I told her, you know, I didn't say it was 2 or 3 days. I said it would be a week, and I did it under a week. And then when I was done, I did call her, and you know, she took about a week to get back to me. Now, originally I told her...
Okay, let's say she took a week to get back to you, so what happened? When she
Well,
got
I was
back to
involved
you?
in another project. That's what I was about to say. I told her I only had a space of about 2 weeks to do it, and that it had to be done or else I'd be gone.
So?
So I didn't hear anything before I left, and when I got back, I got all these crazy messages. You know, I'm flipping out. Where's my tape? Where's my tape? And
But
you know,
according to you, you had done the mixing already.
yeah, at that point.
Okay, so you did the mixing already, and she called you frequently. You acknowledged that. Where are my tapes?
Yeah.
So you said, come down and pick them up, I assume.
Yeah, I did, and I waited and waited and.
How long did you wait and wait?
Well, I had, I think it was like 4 days. I called the first call I made, and.
One call was... One call.
Shut. Go ahead.
Well, basically, I was home for 4 days, and I mean, I really don't have, it's not like a tape storage facility. I mean, if this was that important to her, she could have made it down.
Just a second.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
You just said you waited 4 days.
Yeah.
And then what did you do with the tapes?
Well, I work in a studio with some other people, and apparently someone misplaced the tape or used it for something else. And now I'm, you know, she's saying that I'm responsible.
Stop! Stop tapping the table.
Okay.
Just a second, Mr. McKay. You had her tapes for 4 days. You said evidently you work in a studio. Somebody either took them, misplaced them, or taped over them. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So, whose fault is that?
Well, I think it's her fault because I tried to get in touch with her, and I mean, you know,
You think it's her fault? I mean, are you looking at me straight in the eye and saying to me, I held on to the tapes for 4 days, and then somebody lost them or misplaced them or taped over them, and it's her fault? 4 days?
No, it's not 4 days. This is in addition to the earlier time.
So how much time? We talking about 2 weeks?
No, I think this is almost three weeks to a month now.
Oh, well, so let's talk about 3 weeks to a month. 3 weeks to a month. She's calling. You say she's calling all the time. You tell her to come in. She didn't come in for 4 days. That's what you originally told me.
Well, yes. I mean, I had no
Mr.
intention of
McKay,
that.
look into my eyes, sir. Right here. Are you standing there as a business person and telling me that somebody either misplaced them, took them, or taped over them, and it's not your responsibility?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're insane.
Okay,
You're insane.
okay.
You are insane.
And later today,
He's suing me for my equipment.
real cases, real people, Judge Judy. Record producer Dante McKay says he no longer has singer Jeanette Kime's demo tape, so she wants her $8,000 back.
Is that what you're really, as a business person who's trying at your youthful age to build up a career in your industry, trying to tell me whether it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks or even 4 weeks, she paid you $8,000. You have a responsibility to maintain those things.
It was not my intention to ever have those tapes disappear at that point.
But they did. And they were under your control. They weren't under her control.
She had control of getting to the studio. I mean, does she not have control of
Mr.
getting herself to get them?
Mr. McKay. Sir. She hadn't abandoned this project, according to you. She called you all the time. As a matter of fact, she was called and making a nudnik out of herself at the beginning, according to you, because she called even before the week that you said you would need to mix these things. And you said, I told you it would be more than just a couple of days. Isn't that what you just told me?
Yeah.
So what makes you think that she abandoned this property, which is what you suggest in your answer to me?
I thought my feeling is that she didn't take the project seriously. It wasn't just this, but other things.
Mr. McKay, everybody takes $8,000 seriously.
Well, now she does. Now she does, because she realizes, but I don't think she realized then when I asked her to come down and pick up the tapes. You know?
Mr. McKay, on what date did you tell her to come to pick up the tapes, sir?
I don't have exact dates.
Well, you need exact dates, sir, in order to satisfy me, if you want to convince me of your position. You need exact dates, sir.
Well, I don't have an exact date. I mean, I could tell you, I know it was before the 1st of the month because I had to do a project on the 1st of the month.
1st of September?
Yes.
Which is 15 days later that you called and told her to come down to pick up the tapes,
Yes,
correct?
Yes.
Were you looking at the tapes at the time?
Yes.
You were looking at them?
Yes.
And when did you realize that they were no longer there?
Well, she went at some point while I was gone.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's a studio, as I said, there's other people there. I told her to come and get them when I was there. I told her if she wanted to get them when I wasn't there, that's fine.
What date did you go to get the tapes and found that they weren't there?
It was, let me see. Well, I never actually went there. I called the studio to say I was coming by to pick them up, and that's, you know, like I was, you know, I don't know.
You have to,
I don't remember exactly.
Talk English. You have to tell me. You don't.
I don't remember the exact date that I had made the arrangements.
This is what I'm talking about.
Well, no,
was
there's
it in,
no.
Shh. Was it in September?
No, I believe that it was before September. It was before September.
But it wasn't any later than September?
No.
Well, if you didn't finish this until August 15th,
it was.
Finish the project.
I would say late August, because he had called.
It certainly wasn't in October, or November or December. You didn't leave the property there for 6 months.
No.
All right, Mr. McKay, how old are you, sir?
27.
And how long have you been in this producing business of records?
A while, 8 to 10
How
years.
long? What's a while?
8 to 10 years, I'd say.
Since you were a teenager.
Yeah.
You only have one thing in business, and that's your reputation.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
People like Mr. McKay, have to be put in their place. That's what I think.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Somebody has to take a hit for this money. It is not sensible, sir, for somebody to have invested their time and given you $8,000, which you acknowledge, and for them to, within giving you the benefit of every doubt, 6 weeks, the whole month of September and half a month of August, abandon this project so that you feel comfortable about erasing the tapes, which, by the way, is what you swore to in your answer, that you erased the tapes. You didn't say they were lost. So this wasn't true in your answer. You don't know whether they were erased. They're just not there anymore.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, you understand that the limit of the jurisdiction of this court is $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that?
Yep.
And I assume that you've come to this court because in order to retain counsel, et cetera, it would have been much more expensive.
Yeah.
So, she is absolutely entitled to her money back, sir. Absolutely. I'm going to suggest to you that as long as you're in a business, the only thing you have is your good name. And if there's a mistake made, what you're supposed to do is fess up right away so that it's not besmirched in an industry. That's a good lesson, and you're young enough to take that lesson to heart. The judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000.
Awesome.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This is not about a legal matter. This is just revenge, vindication against me because, you know, I don't know.
Okay, $8,000 doesn't have anything to do with it. It's just because I care so much about you that I would do this just to harass you, just to have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
You're insane.
Okay.
You're insane.
Okay,
you are
okay.
insane.
And now the next case.
Parties on Stephens versus Garcia. Step forward, please.
35-year-old Christina Stephens is suing her fellow band member, Alan Garcia, over musical equipment she says he kept when the band split up.
All right, 3 of you started a band. You had the agreement that you would buy some equipment. What are you laughing at?
I don't get it.
Did I say something that was funny? Sir,
Yes?
did I say something that was funny?
No.
So why are you laughing?
I'm just kind of smiling. Not really laughing.
3 of you started a band. You bought some equipment according to these complaints, if I believe you. The agreement was, if anybody left the band, the other 2 people would buy out the person that was leaving. You decided to leave.
Actually, no, I didn't leave. He left the band practice with the equipment, and without my consent and without Robert's. And we are still a band.
So he left and took some equipment.
Mm-hmm.
What equipment did he take?
He took the PA head.
PA head?
Which runs the monitors and the speakers and the microphones and everything.
Did you take the PA head?
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Well, I need it. I'm the singer.
You were the 3rd person in the band?
The 4th person, Your Honor.
So there were 4 people?
Yeah.
So you have a half a band and a half a band?
We are a full band. There's more people still playing with us. We still had prior or future engagements that we still had to do. And we've been renting equipment, or a PA head to run our equipment.
I still still don't understand what a PA head is. Is that like a mic, just a microphone?
It's a little box, and you plug all the stuff into it, and it makes everything work.
Well, how much does that cost?
It costs
$750.
What?
$750.
about
It costs $742.
You wrote it right there.
$742.
$742. And how much is the equipment that you have worth?
The monitors and the Sun speakers are mine. They never were the band's. And I have receipts that I bought them, and they total $974, what he is suing me for. He's suing me for my equipment.
The contract says right here all the equipment that's involved in this piece of musical shamble that's going on here, and
Could I see that, please?
it's all together, regardless if she bought it or what. It's all
You
together.
never paid. Just a second.
We all pitched in to buy this, the three of us. Okay.
You did not pay.
If
Just a second.
one person was to leave, then the other two would pay it out. Now she left. She went with him, and that's fine. And me and Robert are still together. We'll pay her money. We just want the equipment. You see?
Just a minute. Did you pay this $974 for the equipment that she says she brought into the band?
No, she did.
Well, then why should she give it to you?
What does the contract say? The contract says if somebody leaves, the other ones will buy out their house.
Listen to me, sir. Let's talk logic. Try to not smile.
It's hard.
It's not hard. Just do it.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
There's a certain logic in a group of people, 3, 4, 5 people getting together and deciding to pool their money, buy equipment, and a contract that says if somebody leaves, the other members of the band will purchase their equipment. It is illogical to say that if somebody has purchased equipment, $1,000 worth of equipment, they're going to put that in the pot for no money. And then, if somebody decides to leave, let's say she decided to leave and the only equipment that was there was $974 worth of equipment that she had purchased that nobody contributed to, that she would have to buy out her own equipment. Wouldn't that be stupid? Would that be stupid?
Well, how does she
What do
buy
you
her own equipment if she's taking it? I don't understand.
No. You're countersuing her for her equipment that she bought that you didn't pay for. Isn't that right? That's what your countersuit is.
All I'm aware of is that the equipment belongs to this group.
No, listen to me. Not aware of. You started this group. Did you pay for the equipment that she brought into the group?
No, not that she brought into it.
So then your countersuit is dismissed.
That settles that.
Very quick. Let's get rid of this. He's irritating me. You are suing for $117? For what? Just tell me fast.
For the
Fast.
money that was put into the PA head that I put in.
$117.
It's my share, yeah.
You have a check for that or something, have some proof of that? Even drinking my water. Being a fool and drinking my water.
It's right at the bottom of the contract.
Could I see it, please?
Right. It shows my share, his share, and Rob's share.
It's just a copy of the same one he gave you, Judge.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they're showing shares here.
I see. Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $117. That's all. Goodbye.
Excuse you may step out. I'll be back. Go to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
So you guys are musicians, man, and you guys do your thing, and I'll do my thing, you know? They don't mix, you know? Well, it's two different styles of music. You see, they don't blend, you know? So, go see him. Go hear him. Am I gonna fight you? Look at you, probably beat me up. What's the deal, man?
He's on Peters versus Peters. Step forward, please.
30-year-old exotic dancer Kelly Peters and her husband of 6 years, Christopher, are going through a divorce. They have come before Judge Judy to settle their disputes over a car, a cat, a dog, and their intimate home video.
Order, all rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please, all rise. Your Honor, this is case number 60 on the calendar in the matter of Peters versus Peters. Judge, the parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Thank you. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Peters, you've been married for 6 years and you're in the process of divorcing. According to your papers, I think that you've both agreed that your marriage is going to be over, despite the fact that I get some sense in these papers that you still care about each other, that your lives are going in different directions. And you come before me today because there is certain property that you have agreed to permit me to resolve with regard to the issue of ownership, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And once those issues of property are resolved, then the divorce process will be a relatively easy one.
Yes.
Yes. Take a deep breath. Are you nervous?
A little.
Okay. Mrs. Peters, according to your complaint, there are 3 items at issue.
Right.
There is a car.
Right, the car.
What kind of car is it?
It's a 1993 Geostorm GSI. And then the issue of my cat and my dog, he gave my cat away. And we had decided that I would...
So there's a dog?
Yes.
Because the cat's gone?
Yes. And then also we have some videos that we...
Some personal videos that he has that you would like back?
Well, I
would like
to...
it destroyed?
Yes.
Let's start with the car, because my sense is that the car is, in the area of emotions, the easiest thing to resolve.
That's correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, the car is in your name,
Yes, ma'am.
but she pays for it.
That is correct.
How did that come about?
Because when Chris and I had moved to California together, for a while he wasn't working, and I had paid some of his car payments, just 2 of them, so that I was afraid he was going to leave me if he couldn't pay his bills and I go back to Colorado, and I didn't want him to go back, so I paid that. And then I got sick afterwards, and I got really behind on my bills, so my car got repossessed, so I ended up filing for bankruptcy.
I don't believe you paid my car payments.
Yes, I did. I did
Well,
twice.
that's really not particularly relevant, because what we're here for is for resolution, not to revisit bad moments.
So anyway,
Does that
that's
sound
why.
right to you?
Yes.
So you had bad credit,
Yes.
but you needed a car,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you helped her.
Yes, ma'am. I told her, I says, now if I sign for this car, you have to promise me that you're going to make your payments on time and you're not going to make this a liability to me.
So you said, I'll sign for it, but promise that you'll make the
Make your
payments
payments.
faithfully and on time.
That's correct, Your Honor.
You don't mind if I help you out a little bit?
No, not a
Because I
bit.
got other cases to do today.
Thank you.
Okay. How much more time has to go on this car loan?
About a year and a half.
And how long was the car loan? 5 years?
Yes.
And you would agree, Mr. Peters, that she has made, even though some of the payments were late, she's made all the payments.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So there really isn't much of an issue about that. When you separated, you took the car.
Yes.
So
Well,
the
the issue is the collection agents keep coming to me wanting those payments because they're always late.
They are not, I'm sorry. Sorry, Your Honor, but they're not always late.
Well, I got just this notice right here that she's behind 2 payments.
I'm not behind 2
Let
payments.
me ask you this question, Mr. Peters. How would you like to resolve this fairly with regard to the car? Let me see what your suggestion is.
Well, I would like to be able to sign it over in her name, but that's impossible because they won't do it because of her credit. So I think that she should at least reimburse me maybe half of what the car is worth, and that way.
How's that going to help you?
Well, my car is about ready to go.
How do you think it would be reasonable to resolve this issue? Because what you're really asking is you're asking him to sign the title of the car over to you, and yet he has the liability.
Yes, ma'am.
I've made all the payments up to now. I'm not going to stop making the payments.
Well, I know that because you're driving the car. But if you do stop making the payments, that means they're going to come after him or repossess the car.
I would never stop making the payments.
Mm-hmm.
I've already paid over $12,000 on that car, Your Honor. I'm not going to stop making the payments. Plus, I paid his car insurance until this year so that he could have car insurance because he didn't want to have
That's
car
not
insurance.
true. You left me with $1,500 worth of bills, and
Chris, that is so not true.
and I paid the last 2 months of your insurance.
Okay. How much is this car worth now, approximately?
$7,000.
Is that about right?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you have the last statement that you received on the car?
I just have one of the bill that's owed right here.
Can I see it, please? Well, it says this payment, you are delinquent by 1 month.
Actually, that will be true on the 26th. But I'm going to make the payment before the 26th.
Okay. Give me a minute. You still owe a lot of money on this car.
About $6,200, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably paid about $2,000 in overcharges by now.
No, I have not, Chris.
Wait, she's paid for a long time. I mean, you have had the car for, if she's had the car for 4 years, if she's had the car for 4 years.
But every time she's late a payment, Your
I
Honor,
am
they-
not every time
they-
late a payment,
Shh,
Chris.
don't fight with each other. You don't have
Sorry.
to fight with each other anymore. You're getting a divorce. The fighting is over.
Later on Judge Judy.
Have you ever shown this video to anyone?
No, ma'am.
And you want it destroyed?
Yes, I do.
You want to keep it?
Yes, ma'am.
That's sick.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 34-year-old Chris Peters is divorcing his wife Kelly because she won't give up her exotic dancing career. They have asked Judge Judy to arbitrate their dispute over their pets, their car, and their intimate home video.
Mr. Peters, I'm going to suggest to you that for the purposes of liability and everything else, that you sign this car over to her so that the car is in her name. You, of course, always have the recourse of suing her in a small claims arena. You don't have to go through lawyers or anything else. You know she doesn't have money now.
Yes, ma'am.
My alternatives are to force her to sell the car, satisfy your loan, and then she'd have $800 left. Because if the car is worth $7,000 and there's $6,200 left to pay on the loan, that would put her in a position of not being able to be employed, really, because she wouldn't have a way of getting back and forth to work. I assume you drive to work.
Yes, I do.
Now, you've been married for 6 years. Are you employed on a regular basis?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
You have a weekly paycheck?
The small one.
Okay. You are not, I assume, Ms. Peters, in your divorce action seeking support from him. Is that correct?
Of course not.
Because you're working.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to look at the long-term picture, Mr. Peters. This car is your insurance. Your insurance that when this whole divorce action is finalized, your wife is not going to ask for support from you because she's not working because she didn't have a car to get to work. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So what it really means is for the next year while this car loan is being paid off, you'll have to sweat it a little bit to make sure, you know, that she's going to make the car payments. You also can feel confident that after all the money she's paid for the car, it is unlikely that she's going to allow the car to be repossessed. I'm telling you right now, if you don't make your payments, the first thing they do is come and get the car. So, Mr. Peters, you're going to sign the car over to her. That way, when your divorce is over, everything's going to be finished. Is that a good idea?
That's fine, Your Honor.
All right, good. So, that was the unemotional part of this dispute. Now, let's get to the dog. The dog's name is Breezy.
Yes.
Breezy is, according to your papers, a boxer.
Yep.
Is that a
Yes.
picture of Breezy?
No, this is a picture of my cat that he gave away without my permission.
Okay.
We'll get to the cat.
Yes, we will.
That's a picture of Breezy.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your papers, Miss Peters, you had a cat and a dog.
Yes.
You had Mac, the cat.
Yes.
Breezy, the dog.
Right.
And why don't you tell me about the arrangement with the cat and the dog when you separated in November?
Okay. We had agreed that I would take the cat, Mac, and I would let him keep Breezy, even though I didn't really want to let him keep Breezy because she's my dog too, and I love her, and I'm the one that took care of her, paid for her food most of the time, took her to the vet, all that stuff.
You agreed that you would keep the cat and he would keep the dog.
Right, and because I can't have the cat where I'm living right now, he had promised that he would keep Mackie for me until I could get my own place. And I thought that instead of taking Mac at the time and having him stay at a friend's house or having my sister keep him, it would be less traumatic for Mac if he stayed in his own house with his own yard until I could come get him. And he looked me in the eye and promised me that he would take good care of Mac.
The same way she looked me in the eye and promised me she'd make all her payments on time.
Oh,
Mr.
God.
Peters.
I did promise and looked her in the eyes about the cat, and then I'd keep it for her. But sometimes when you get...
So what happened with the cat?
The cat kept urinating all over the house and on my clothes and stuff, and I finally...
Coming up on Judge Judy.
It was totally done just for the two of us. I've never made that kind of video with anyone ever before. And I just did it for him.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Mr. and Mrs. Christopher Peters are in the middle of a divorce, but they have come before Judge Judy to settle custody of their pets, a car, and a personal home video.
Why didn't you call your wife and say, listen, I'm giving away the cat. You want the cat, come and get it?
Because I knew that the cat needed a home, a good home, and Kelly wasn't prepared. She just left the cat. If she was so concerned about Breezy and the cat, then she should have done something before she left.
Okay.
She shouldn't have
Mr.
just left it
Peters.
up to me.
Mr. Peters, you didn't answer my question.
Why didn't I
Why
call
didn't
Kelly?
you, at that moment,
Because I was
pick up
pissed
the...
off.
Right. That's honest. There you go. Okay.
And
That's
I was
honest.
using, and I was thinking, I was thinking that, you know, it was her fault and stuff. And I was sorry. After I gave the cat away, I tried to get the cat back because I realized how much it really meant to Kelly, you know. But at the time of the anger of the moment,
Okay.
I hated the cat.
That's
so.
just a second. That's honest, Mr. Peters. Shh. Shh. That's honest.
Okay.
Well, so now, Mrs. Peters, your husband acknowledges that he got rid of the cat because the cat was soiling all over the house.
But, Your Honor, it's because he didn't clean out his box.
Whatever, for whatever reason. He didn't like the cat. Maybe he looked at the cat as an extension of you. Is that a possibility?
Maybe.
He acknowledges that he was wrong. That's a step. That's not a reason for me to say that you're entitled to the dog.
And I'm sorry I gave away the cat.
Good. Did you hear that?
Yes.
I am sorry.
Because, you know, it's like he did the dog has been with him. The dog has always been with him for the last 9 months. The dog has been with him, living in a place where the dog is accustomed to living. There's a certain routine. So if I were to say, well, you gave away the cat, now I'm going to give her the dog, who I'm really punishing is this dog who had very, you know, dog didn't have anything to do with getting rid of the cat. So that wouldn't be fair, would it? Mrs.
Well,
Peters, would
the
that
dog
be
lives-
fair to the dog?
No, probably
Right.
not.
You're right. It would not be fair to the dog. It's like saying if you have a child and there's a divorce, and if one parent acted badly about something, you punish that parent by saying, well, I'm going to limit your visitation with the child. Because that's punishing the child. It's not only punishing the party, but it's punishing the child for something that the child had no control over. This dog is used to living in a particular place. How old is the dog?
3 years.
So for 3 years, lived in the same place, same home, it's got a yard, whatever. Does it?
Yeah, it's got
Got a
big
yard, has a routine.
She's real happy too, Your Honor.
And there's really no reason for me to uproot the dog because he made a mistake.
Well,
Yes, I did.
He made a mistake. He apologized for it. It was not the right thing to do. So the dog stays with him.
Chris, thank you, Your Honor.
Now, the last thing that we're going to address is this video. Ms. Peters, it's your position that this was a rather intimate video that you and your husband took as husband and wife for fun, for whatever. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you want it destroyed.
Yes, I do.
Your position is you want to keep it.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Well, I have a couple of questions to ask you, sir.
Okay.
Have you ever shown this video to anyone?
No, ma'am, I would never show it to anyone else.
Okay, so you want to keep this for yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
That's
And
sick. Very sick.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It's not as nasty or whatever that you want to think. I mean,
Your
it
Honor,
was
it's very
too-
graphic.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Kelly Peters, an exotic dancer, and her husband Chris Peters are divorcing. Judge Judy is deciding what happens to their intimate home video.
There is no reason that I can think of for divorced people to keep pictures, videos, photos of each other that the other party might find embarrassing.
Well, there's nothing embarrassing about it. It was just, you know, I mean, it's like, I love Callie. I'm always going to love her. And it's just, I mean, it's not as nasty or whatever that you want to think. I mean,
Your
it
Honor,
was
it's very
too...
graphic.
Just a second. I don't want to hear about it. I thought I was being very...
Sorry.
I thought I was being very circumspect about it. I said that there was an intimate thing done with...
I have
between
many
us.
other videos of her, too. I mean, that's not in the same category,
This
but...
is what she wants. This is the one that offends you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Bell, I'm going to say this to you one more time, sir, and listen to me very carefully. When you divorce, if you're lucky, you're left with certain pleasant memories that you try not to forget. You know, you had good times with your wife. It just so happens that in your case, after 6 years, your lives have taken a different path. She doesn't want to have to worry about these photographs, these videos, falling into anybody else's hands. God forbid you're out in a car and your car is in a wreck and you are there comatose and your mother goes through your things and she says, I wonder if these are pictures of Chris when he was out skiing. And your mother plays this video. Do you understand what I'm saying, sir? You know, it's one of the reasons why people are always supposed to wear clean underwear all the time and keep their houses neat. You never can tell what's going to happen. There are all kinds of situations that I can conceive of where even if you don't intend something to happen, this can fall into the wrong hands. Someone can burglarize your house. That's a possibility. Isn't that a possibility?
I don't think they'd find the tape.
They're certainly not going to find it, sir, because there isn't going to be a tape.
So there's nothing I can say because...
There is
I mean,
absolutely nothing, sir, that you can say to me that would satisfy me that there is any logical, rational basis for you maintaining anything that might prove embarrassing to her. And if she had something that might prove embarrassing to you, I can guarantee you, sir, it would be in my possession if it was the subject of this litigation, and it would be destroyed.
Do you?
No, of course I don't.
Good. Officer Byrd, you and I are going to take care of this video in the back. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Peters, listen to me. It's resolved. This is going to be destroyed. It's going to be destroyed within the next 5 minutes. Officer Byrd and I are going to have fun. We're going to create a little bonfire in my chambers. Now, then you don't have to worry about it anymore, Mrs. Peters. So let us see how we resolve this case. The Geo.
Yes, ma'am.
Is going to be registered in your name. The dog, Breezy, sir, is yours.
Thank you.
The video is mine. This case is over. Thank you.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
And on the next Judge Judy.
She's got stories that she'd
I
come
didn't
home and
hang-
tell me of stuff that men did to her. Women never did stuff
Yes,
like that
women
when
did
I was
do stuff to
dancing.
him. I remember a certain bruise that you had in a certain intimate place that you showed me,
Okay,
Chris.
yeah, but it wasn't.
But don't tell me that it was just
wasn't
me getting
like the
manhandled
things
ever.
that you had happen to you.
Yes, it was
And
like the things. Yes, it was.
There's not a man out there that would share their wife with other men. That's the bottom line.
That's not true, Chris. I shared you with plenty of other women. It was totally done just for the two of us. I've never made that kind of video with anyone ever before. And I just did it for him.
I still love you.
I still love you, too. If you want to go to counseling, we'll maybe get back together. Yes, you can do that.
I do love you. I love you too.
সময় এটা আপনি খুব সহজে করতে পারেন। কীভাবে করবেন, কী কী রং করছেন, এটা বিদেশে শেয়ার করবো। অবশ্যই ভিডিওটা আপনারা দিতে বলবেন না।